start.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Well, hey everybody, this is the Goodell Multiverse podcast. My name is Sam Goodell.
I'm Isaiah Goodell.
Let's get started with the episode today. This is our third episode. We're diving into the Incredible Hulk. But first, before we get to the main topic at hand, we got on our agenda the news of the week. We're also going to review Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 1 that came out. They had a last-minute schedule change with Marvel, but we'll discuss that in a moment. And then, of course, we're reviewing every MCU movie that's ever came out. We already did Iron Man 1, so if you haven't watched that or listened to that yet, go back, subscribe, like our videos so you can help get us out there a little bit more, and listen to our conversation on Iron Man 1.
Yeah, this will be our official second movie on our March to Doomsday, basically.
Yeah, March to Doomsday.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I like that.
That's perfect. Yes, yeah. So we're reviewing The Incredible Hulk. So tune into our social media accounts too, by the way, because in case you miss an episode, we will post on there what we're discussing up next, and we want to hear your thoughts and comments and what you thought about those movies, so we could be able to kind of gauge what the audience thinks and what the world views these movies, and then we're of course going to give you our 2 cents here.
Yeah, we like to hear your opinion as well, because it might be a perspective that we didn't think of, and it's all debate and fun as it is. So
awesome. All right, so let's get things started with 3 different news of the weeks. Let's see. We're going to start off first with discussing that Wonder Man Season 2 has been announced. Marvel announces its 3rd show with a 2nd season. The second topic we're going to talk about is the Punisher Spotlight Special. That's going to be on Disney+. There's a special surprise during a last-minute schedule change. The Punisher's long-awaited Disney Plus special finally now arrives on May 12th, 2026, literally the week after Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is done. So, the third thing we're going to talk about too is some breaking records with a Marvel movie. Spider-Man Brand New Day, the first trailer, shattered records by generating approximately 718.6 million views within the first 24 hours. That title, I believe, was previously held by Deadpool and Wolverine, and I don't know those numbers on top of my head, but this one flew right past that number.
And that's just a teaser trailer.
Yeah. So this trailer, it became officially the most watched trailer in history of cinema. Wow. Not just Marvel. This is like industry-wide cinema. The trailer has reached over 1 billion views in just 4 days, which is still monumental. And so we're going to talk about all 3 of these things.
Yeah.
Ike, why don't you kick it off with whatever you want to talk about first?
So we'll start right there with Wonder Man Season 2. This will be a quick one for me because I've yet to finish Season 1. Mm-hmm. I do like what I see of it so far. Marvel and I have a very unique relationship with the TV shows. I'm not a fan of the majority of them. And I'm not saying that as that they're bad. I just went into them back when they first started doing them in a different mindset and kind of felt let down when I realized how unconnected to the movies they are, or how connected they are, and how that water is kind of muddy on what they want us to think. I was huge on Loki Season 1, thought it was awesome. And then when I got to the end and as they kept going, I kind of realized, not a lot of that meant much. And to me, it was kind of mind-blowing stuff if you're just comparing it to the movies. So, and they've also been very not clear with us about it. So, but with that said, Wonder Man is fun. I like the actors. I like the story. It's a good time. I will watch it. The Marvel's TV shows are competing with some other shows I watch right now. And unfortunately, it's kind of like lower on the list. I'm going to watch things like Landman before I watch Wonder Man. I feel it's made for the other Landman's made more for me than Wonder Man is, and unfortunately. So I'm glad they're getting a Season 2. Season 1's good so far. I think you'd have to be really bad to not get a Season 2. Mm-hmm. Anyways, when it comes down to these shows.
And the sad thing is, to piggyback on that, most of these shows have been not renewal worthy. Is the best way to say it.
Yeah, so they must have this must have a good ending, and they must have a great idea moving forward, or they wouldn't be spending the money. Because I think Marvel is starting to be aware that, we've kind of messed up with our shows a little. Maybe not. We'll see as it goes going forward. So
Yeah, totally.
How do you feel about Wonder Man season 2 coming?
So I'll be honest. I was looking forward to Wonder Man season 1, and then it's good to have this perspective going into Wonder Man, especially for you yourself that haven't seen it yet. Don't go into it thinking of what you typically think of Marvel. Because typically when you think of a Marvel movie or a Marvel show, you're expecting action, you're expecting some of these different things. Wonder Man in particular, he's kind of like a niche type character. If you like TV shows like, I believe it's called The Studio from Apple, where it's basically like an insider look at Hollywood and how it works to a degree. If you like that, you'll like Wonder Man. Because what Wonder Man basically is, and I don't know if he deviated too much from the comics, because he does have a similar origin to a degree in the comics. There are key differences, of course, but what I'll say is this Wonder Man's about a man who just so happens to be a superpowered person. He has powers. It doesn't explain in the show, spoiler warning, it doesn't explain in the show how he got his powers. It alludes to it, but it never explicitly says what it is. So it's left very ambiguous if he's a mutant, if he's an Inhuman, if he is something completely different. We really have no idea what MCU is going to do with Wonder Man. But his chemistry between him and Trevor Slattery, who is Ben Kingsley, the fake Mandarin, if you want to call him that, I'll tell you, is my favorite performance of him in the MCU, of Trevor Slattery. Really good. Like, this is an unexpected surprise. I would call Wonder Man kind of a sleeper hit, where it's not going to be on everyone's radar for some of those things I said. It's not your typical look of a Marvel show, but it hit the points that it wanted to hit. It just told the story very differently than what we're used to, and it's kind of nice to expand the world of Marvel to see what regular people are like and what industries like Hollywood in the MCU would be like towards superpowered people. And that's what Wonder Man basically did. I did think it ended on a really good cliffhanger, but I don't know if it was a cliffhanger worthy enough of a season 2 in my personal point of view. I think it was good, and I would tune in to see more, definitely. It has some pacing issues because it's not your typical Marvel movie, or show, I should say. There are displays of powers, but it's very rarely utilized, and then when you do see them, they're magnificent. It's like some of the best that the TV shows have done for power-wise, showing them CGI. But I think the reason they're able to do that is because he uses them very seldomly. Yeah,
which is kind of smart.
It is. It is. So it was really good. I did like season 1, and I would see a season 2. I will say I am surprised, though, that of all the shows that Marvel has done, and I don't have a number on the top of my head, but Wonder Man's only the 3rd show that they've done that has gotten officially renewed for season 2. We had Loki, which was a huge hit. He had a huge fan base, though, in the beginning. So everyone loved Loki in the movies. Announcing him as his own show, of course, was already generating a lot of views, a lot of hype. I don't even know if they finished season 1 when they already said they were working on a season 2. It was that big of a deal. The second show was Daredevil Born Again. We're going to get into that, but that is the official second show that Disney Plus has done of a Marvel property that has been renewed and now currently streaming a second season. Shows that surprise me, I would say, that haven't been renewed since we're in this topic right now is like Ironheart. I know that wasn't very well received, but ended on a hell of a cliffhanger that makes me want to see what's going to happen next. So I'm actually shocked they haven't renewed that one yet, because that was a show that came out before Wonder Man and already had enough hype around it for seeing a continuation, but Marvel hasn't greenlit it. So who knows what they're going to do with that character or with that cliffhanger. I do pray they address that cliffhanger, because that's a big deal to introduce in a small show like that. But anyways.
Just to piggyback on that real quick, I can give you kind of an answer on why we didn't get so many sequels or second seasons. Is because I think we can't underestimate what quality means. And it shows, you know. It's one of those things where, sure, Ironheart's got this great twist at the end and this cliffhanger, but it really wasn't that good of a show. And it had, I'm sure it has its audience. Like all of them have their audience. But if they're dumbed down and they're made for a very specific core group of people, then you're going to lose your normal watchers. And why I say that is because there is so much television today to watch. With all the streaming services and the streaming shows, there is so much to watch that if me personally, I would have to just only really like superhero movies and Marvel stuff in order to dedicate the kind of time that it requires for me to watch multiple seasons of these shows. It took me forever to get caught up on Daredevil, from the Netflix one. And that honestly, I really do think that that's only got a second season of Born Again, or Born Again in general, happen because of the following that came out of the Netflix show. If there wasn't a following there, that would have been a one and done as well on Disney Plus. That's where these shows, I think, have failed. When there's things out there like, Yellowstone spinoffs, Landman, The Pit. I mean, you're talking some real quality good shows that adults like me and you and our mother love to watch. And I'm not going to watch Ironheart Season 2 before I watch the next episode of The Pit. And if that means, at 10 o'clock at night, that's my true choices, Ironheart takes a back seat, and it might be a week or so before I get to it, if I get to it at all. So that's where they're if it's quality, we'll be there. And Loki, no matter what everybody says about Loki, it was quality. It was real good. Those scenes between him and Morbius are amazing, the conversations. That writing that's there, that captures you. We'll talk about this when we get into Born Again today, because that has some of that for me. That writing that's there, and it captures that essence of what's going on. If it's there, I'll come watch it. If it's not, then I got better things I can watch right now, unfortunately. Their competition is so tough where, we can move right into the next one when it comes on The Punisher. They should be more like this one. If you don't have something that you think is going to be a knockout of the park quality-wise, then just give us an hour and a half special of this character and don't do these seasons anymore. To me, this is what Disney Plus Marvel stuff should be, is a Punisher hour and a half special of a story of his that probably will have nothing to do with anything that we see in the future. And if it does, it'll be cool for the people that saw it. But if you see him in Spider-Man and in other movies, you don't have to see this in order to see it. Kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Other than finding out that, Mantis is his sister, is that really a pivotal moment in Guardians 3? Not at all. You don't even think about it. In fact, when they even say it, they always talk about being family. So you can always take it as, oh yeah, you're my sister, like we're all family, because we're all a group. It's like whatever happened in that Christmas special didn't mean anything when it come down to the movies. That's how these should be handled more anyways. So to me, it's like Wonder Man's great. It's going to get a season 2. I'd have rather seen an hour-long special of this character, and then maybe, look, we'll do another one because you liked it. That's what a lot of those other shows could have done better as. And like with the Punisher, I'm excited for this. Like, he's not my favorite Punisher, but he's my second favorite because there's no other really good ones after him and Thomas Jane. What I don't like about Bernthal's Punisher is he's too emotional, which I know is kind of a hard argument because if you're making a long extended show like they're obviously trying to do, or extensions of him, because they don't quite have enough with him to make a continuing on show. I mean, they did a show for him on its own, but they kind of realized it was only going to do good on its own. So that's why they're doing this, because they know a season 2 wasn't going to happen. But he's likable enough to, we can do an hour-long thing of him, though. And that's what we're getting. And I think that's why they also chose to bring him into the movies, because his time on the shows are getting a little redundant. And it's going to be, okay, he can't do a show on his own. He's only going to be able to be in these other shows so many times before it doesn't make sense. So let's start putting him in the movies, which is fine, because that's where I think he should be anyways, is the movies. He's just too emotional for me. I like my Frank Castle is a Frank Castle that's all those emotions were gone when his family was killed. This talking to him and him feeling like he's going through some PTSD thing that can be changed and fixed, I think is I think it's a good message. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be a message Marvel should talk about, because we should. But my Punisher he's gone. This is going to be his fate. His fate is, I'm going to kill everybody that was involved in that, I'm going to start killing everybody that's doing a little bad stuff, and we'll team up only when it suits what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. Because in the end, you're not going to stop me from being the guy that's going to kill bad guys. And I don't get that from the Bernthal guy. I get a lot of, hesitations, and I get a lot of that inside dealing with it when my Punisher's dealt with it and he's made a choice. Mm-hmm. That's why I like the Thomas Jane one, because he's so to the fact of almost melodrama in that sense of like, you're monotone and you're just a murderer. It's like, yep, because that's who the Punisher is. There's no mercy with him. Bernthal brings that to the table, but it still is kind of like, you're a little whiny sometimes, and that bugs me a little. But I'll still watch it because the action's awesome and he's great in it, and I'm excited for that. I'll watch that, and that would be one I would turn on over other shows. Mm-hmm. But that, like I said, to me, that's where the direction of the Disney Plus really should start going anyways, is these one or even 2 hour specials. Just at lower budgets with these lower characters to have a good time with them. I think that'd be fun. How do you feel about the Punisher coming?
So, full disclosure for me for the Punisher, I have not watched the Netflix show Punisher. I think he had 2 seasons. It did very well on that.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2. One.
Yeah. And I have not watched the older Punisher films that came out. So I'm going based off of pure interest for me. Punisher as a character, even in the comics, he was too dark for me. He was one of those characters where I was like, if I want to have a dark superhero, anti-hero type person, I'd go over to DC because they have a plethora of them. Yeah. So for Marvel, I don't think of them that way. So I never was drawn to Punisher to even be intrigued enough to watch his stuff until the Netflix Daredevil Season 2 intro of Punisher when they brought him in. And again, full disclosure, I haven't watched the Cassidy version of Punisher, and I'm not as much of a Punisher fan, so you might have a little more in tune to how he actually is supposed to be type thing. But for a new person trying to bring in a new audience, fan base, I like John Bernthal as the Punisher, to the point where I was shocked he was my standout favorite in Season 2. And Season 2 introduced Elektra of the original Daredevil show, and I loved her like amazingly. But I will say that John Bernthal, his character intrigued me enough to want to learn more about the Punisher.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
And I think that if you're trying to cast a wider net for some of maybe the next generation of people, or just I think they touched upon enough of Frank Castle that was in tune with who the character is supposed to be, with his family dying and he's becoming the Punisher type thing, the anti-hero, so to speak. But they added enough of that to make it where it is the Punisher. You're not watching a separate character, but maybe they ad-libbed a little bit on his emotional state of things. Maybe they wanted to do it to send a message to say, hey, people really do suffer PTSD. This is how a fictional comic book character is going to deal with it, but don't do that.
Well, to be fair, the comics do talk about he is being comic accurate. It's when we watch the 2004 Punisher with Thomas Jane, you will be in shock the difference of that Punisher to this one. And you'll probably see why I do like that one more, but this one is for the MCU, this is the better direction. It's just for me personally, when it comes down to looking forward to this, I kind of already know what we're getting into, so it's kind of like, okay, it's going to get emotional, but I'm going to feel like some of these beats have been talked already about. When the old, my favorite version of him, he's so on the edge of just being the bad guy that he's unpredictable, where you're kind of like, oh, you don't turn your back on this guy. Like, if you're a good person, you're fine, but if you're not, he's dangerous, and this one doesn't feel that way. He doesn't feel unpredictable to me, which is fine, but that's the other one's it's just a lot more violent and more deep. I mean, the Thomas Jane version will get you to do things in your own life to ruin your life before he even kills you. But he almost wants to not just see you dead. He wants to see that you understand why it's happening. When this guy is just going to correct things and be there to help people, which is fine, because that's the majority of the comics is what we're seeing now. But the Thomas Jane one will set people up to make them destroy their own life just to it's a more of a revenge than it is. It's not good enough to just kill kind of thing, and you'll see what I mean when we do get to that and how different that is.
That I like how you phrase that because it reminds me of Punisher. He's there to punish, not just I get it.
You're gonna reap what you sowed. You're not just gonna die. You're gonna know why you're dying for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm excited because I do like this Punisher. I will sometime go through and watch the Netflix show since it's on Disney Plus. Those 2 seasons. I like Karen Page, and I know she's in the first season of Punisher because she had a lot to do with his character in the Daredevil show. So I definitely want to see the show to see more of John Bernthal's version of him, especially now that we're going to get him in Spider-Man. He's already appeared a couple times in Born Again. This Frank Castle that we have here is enough of a favorite for Marvel. He's going to stay. So I want to learn more about him if we're going to see him more. But I'm excited that I heard that Punisher was going to have a special. Like, we've been talking about it, I think, in the community for like years now. That he's going to have it. John Berthel's been saying, oh yeah, it's in the works, it's in the works, it's in the works. I didn't realize how much he actually had as an actor, part of producing and writing some of the show. And I don't know how to say this properly, but whenever I hear of an actor or a talent saying that they're doing stuff in the project that they're working on a different level than is just their acting and their talent ability type thing, their main talent, why they were hired to begin with, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the Incredible Hulk. That whenever I hear that they're doing stuff to it and they're integral in how it's being done, I have like this 50-50 feeling of it's either going to be really good, like he really loves the character that much, he wants to be involved in seeing him done right, or it's going to be, oh, this is not my show, just because I'm the actor and you have to pay me to be on screen. If I'm not there, production can't go on, so I'm going to demand this, this, and this. I get that weird, and we see some actors in Hollywood that do this stuff, and we're not going to name names at the moment, but we're going to get to one soon that has a reputation, at least, of doing this before. So it's not, it's very plausible that he actually did some of the things we'll talk about. But you see them when they get, I love it when an actor can broaden their talents and their abilities to maybe become like Scarlett Johansson, the producer on something, or maybe they could eventually be like Angelina Jolie and start directing something. Like I like that stuff, but I don't like it when one, it's personal to me when it's comics, to be honest. Yeah. Just because of that ownership quality that we as fans have, number one. But number two, when they have a tendency to become the bigger ego of the movie, and then it changes the narrative of what the film's supposed to be into something what they prefer, whether that's good or bad. And sometimes, like in Deadpool's favorite, it kind of works out a little bit. But sometimes, like we're going to talk about in this film, it causes enough tension that people are like, maybe we'll not do this, But
yeah, you're talking about a Hollywood too that's different than before. There's a time when even if you were an A-class actor, you needed to go look for these projects and try to get them. Now we live in a time where, the studios are bringing projects to actors. I mean, I love Leonardo DiCaprio. I'll name some names, but I don't think he's had to audition probably in the last 20 or 30 years. In fact, there's a famous story that he didn't even want to audition for Titanic, and that was back in the beginning times, where he almost lost that role because James Cameron said, oh no, you're going to audition. I'm not going to make this some $100 million movie on someone I don't know if they can do it or not. And he almost didn't do it. And it ended up being great because he did the audition and he was great for the role. But that's kind of and I'm not saying it's not a diss on Leo. It's a diss on the system itself, where before it was hey, I don't care that you were awesome in the last movie you did. If you want to do another one, you got to bring what you got to the table. And we live in a time now where they have a lot more say. Now, if you have, I know Bernthal has some producing rights to this. So in that, makes me think that he could have some say in what the character does. I mean, we also got to remember, folks, you're talking the jobs of these people behind the scenes. Like as a producer, they don't really have a lot to say when it comes down to what the movie's going to look like or how it's going to be. Their job is to make sure the movie can be made, right? They're the ones helping and being the forefront of the money being pushed with maybe the help of being part of the creative team. Ultimately, your creative team, what you see on screen, there's 3 people, arguably 4, but there's 3 departments that's the most important. And that's the director, and it's going to be your actors, obviously, because they're the ones on screen. And it's going to be your editors. And then you could say the writers. I think the writers should be higher up, because without writers, we wouldn't have what we got. But writers get pushed around a lot, as we've seen in a lot of these, lots of times we see the union and all that have trouble. But, your director and your editor, you could have 2 different movies if you got the wrong editor.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you go look at your favorite movies, you look at movies that consistently do well. Guys like Scorsese's or Steven Spielberg, take a look at who's worked with them on them, and almost 9 chances out of 10, the majority of their films are the same editors, the same producers, the same cinematographers. Christopher Nolan's a great example. It's like he's got a crew that he hires every single time when he does his movies. It might change here and there, but I think the editor on his movies has been the same editor since his first movie. So, but what has his movies been? Super successful. Mm-hmm. So they found a combination of, I know what I want to see on screen. This person knows how to edit it to what my vision is. And that's what we get. Because lots of times we'll see, like David Ayer is a great example with the Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. What he saw didn't look bad, but what we got in the editing looked like crap. And that's kind of the problem we have with some of these. Mm-hmm. But to go with what you say, I am also of that. It's 50-50 when you hear of an actor that takes too much charge. It's like, okay, slow down. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, maybe it's not. Mm-hmm. Arnold Schwarzenegger's famous story when he did Terminator. He told James Cameron that I don't think a machine would say, I'll be back. I think a machine would say, I will be back, because it wouldn't shorten the words. And Cameron turned to him and says, you worry about acting, I'll worry about writing. And Arnold's like, all right. And then look, that's like the most famous line that ever came out of Arnold's mouth. So Cameron was right. And there would be times where Arnold would have been right. And I think a lot of it is who you're working with. If it's super collaborative, that's cool. Some guys make great movies like that. Iron Man 1, look what we just talked about. That was so collaborative, they were writing it the day of.
Yeah, you talk about the writers being lower tiered, be like they were scrambling every day to figure out, what are we doing?
Right.
Here's an outline of the scene.
Yeah.
Have fun, Gwyneth and Robert.
Yeah. Then you got your Christopher Nolans or your Quentin Tarantino's or Guy Ritchie's. All those guys, they're going to be like, listen, I want you to do what's on page, and maybe we'll try a couple different lines and they'll do that for fun, but ultimately they want it stuck right to what it is, and those guys tend to be right most of the time. It all depends on who's working, but it's disconcerting though when you find out that that's part of the problem, because it also means there's a power struggle going on, right? Which we'll see that there was even more so behind the scenes than just the actor, and when it comes down to power struggle.
For Marvel in particular, but also like DC, and I'm sure a lot of DC fans that if they're listening to this and watching this, I have your back on this too, that these characters in particular are written such a way that drew enough of a fan base for these type of studios to say, we're going to do stuff now with them type thing.
Yeah.
That it's like, just, I just pray that if any of the actors do want to get into those creative positions on movies like these, then maybe we should hope that they like the characters enough that they are like the fans. They want to see that adaptation of it.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Thing that we'll talk about to wrap up the news of the week is the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer breaking all these records. Honestly, I'm a little ambivalent to. Is it ambivalent is the right word?
Oblivious.
Maybe? Oblivious, yeah. To these types of things when they happen. I mean, like when you hear that, it broke a record, be like, that's cool, that's good for the movie type thing. But when I found out, and pulling up this information for the podcast, that this is an industry-wide record breaking, and this isn't even Spider-Man's biggest movie, arguably, yet, because it's not out yet. No Way Home was, so I would have thought that would have broken all those records, but what are your thoughts?
I think it just speaks to one thing, that Spider-Man's hot right now, man. Like, it's we have the right things going. I've heard some hot takes online from other people that talk, and that they don't care for this version of Spider-Man, and they haven't for a while. And I don't know what their problem is. I think it's great. I mean, what I've liked what they did about it is bringing in the other Spider-Man, kind of made it part of the same universe. So, but yeah, I think just speaks to, this is a movie everyone wants. You can take your kids to this movie, you know, but you could also go see this movie because Spider-Man right now is really cool, and he's awesome and he's fun, and truthfully, this trailer for a teaser, basically, right? We'd say it's a teaser. It's the first one, right? I'm pretty sure it's the first trailer.
Yeah, I'm not
at the
sure
very least.
if this is the official first trailer, or this is the first teaser. I mean,
but it's packed full of look at that. What is this? Holy cow!
The problem with their teaser trailers is they look just like regular trailers to me.
Yeah.
So it's it's not really a tease anymore. It's you're getting a meal.
Sometimes I see trailers like this one, and I'm almost like, don't even do another one. Just let us come into blind as can be. Mm-hmm. You gave us a sneak peek. That's a perfect one. Now, often that happens where I'm kind of like, okay, that first trailer was so good that you know what's coming. I mean, it's Spider-Man, guys. We know what we're getting into. You know, everyone that says, yeah, but what's the story? It's Spider-Man. You know, it's like if we give you much more of the story, we're almost going to give you the whole movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just go watch it. It's like with the Mortal Kombat one. I don't want to see any more Mortal Kombat stuff either. Mm-hmm. You know, that new trailer just come out. That's it. That's all I want. Anything more than that, I might feel like it's too much. You know, I can't wait for that either. I'm more hyped for that. I mean, Spider-Man and that are right up there equal for me when it comes down to I need to see that movie.
Yeah.
But I also like the last one a lot more than the majority of people out there. So, but I think it just speaks to the popularity of this character. I hope Tom sticks it out for as long as he wants. Mm-hmm. I know he doesn't want to get typecast, but I think it's a little too late. You know, I think we're going to see him do some great stuff in the Odyssey, and moving forward with others as he gets older. I think he's going to do other things that are great. But man, just be Spider-Man. Be thankful that you got a part and everybody. I mean, look at the records, buddy. They want to see you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like there's people that would be dying to be in your situation. And I know with fame and all that, there's a downside, but be grateful for it. You know, take Hugh Jackman as good advice when you're just life advice wise. You're never going to hear him say he wished he never played Wolverine. You know, he knows that Wolverine made him, and he's probably going to go out on Wolverine, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If we'll get an old man Logan when he's 70, I bet you $1 million. You know what I mean?
90.
Yeah, until he's 90. He will be Clint Eastwood's age, sitting there as old man Logan. They'll let's do another old man version of it. And he'll do it because he loves the character, and he knows that gave him. Mm-hmm. I mean, Tom, you've done great stuff. I like a lot of the stuff outside of what you've done. Spider-Man, other people don't. I do. But man, you're great as this part. I want to see a 40-year-old Spider-Man teaching a younger kid. Mm-hmm. I want that. I'm down for something like that. So
yeah, no, I agree. And Tom he's really young still. He's younger than me, and he's got a big life still to lead when it comes to all the other acting gigs he's going to get. If anything, Spider-Man just continues to raise his profile as he's an actor who could do his own movie, demanding. You know how many actors that get into Hollywood that it takes them years before they become from that C actor to a B actor, to from a background character to all of a sudden, what they call it, a co-star, to all of a sudden become the main star?
Yeah.
Not everyone could just do it just like that type thing. Some of them even have to do it because their parents were in it, and there you go, you got in there. So Tom, you're doing great, man. Keep up with it, and I like that you enjoy being Spider-Man, because we as fans, we enjoy seeing you as Spider-Man. You're always going to get us to come to your movie, and so just embrace that. That's a unique quality you can have as an actor, that there is one character that was written long time ago that you fit to a T, and it's almost like you live by example with it, and that's kind of cool to see that. I don't want you to ever feel like that, I can't be Spider-Man for the rest of my life. Be like, well, is that such a bad thing?
Yeah, I mean, come on, buddy. Look at
Spider-Man's
Ian McKellen.
Pretty cool.
He's going to be a 90-year-old Magneto, and he's still going to kick a lot of ass.
Yeah.
So you'll be okay.
Yes. All right. Well, to move on from that, guys, we're going to talk about the first episode of Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 1. Now, Marvel had a quick change in their schedule from the last time we filmed the podcast, because we announced at that time, they're going to do the first 2 episodes, which that's what everyone believed until I want to say within 24 hours of the first episode premiering. They're like, wait a minute, we're going to give you all the episode titles, we're revealing that the first episode is only tonight on Tuesday, and that the next 2 episodes are going to be one night the following week, which is kind of abnormal, but I'm sure they're playing something up with it, and then announce a Punisher at the very end. So they had this whole schedule change. So we were able to watch the first episode of this a couple nights ago. At least for me, it was a couple nights ago. I've tried rewatching it a couple times in the midst of my day here or there, just to keep it fresh in my brain. The only thing that I'm going to say is I love seeing Daredevil back. Like, that's the first thing I'm going to say, I should say. I love seeing him back. I think Charlie Cox is casted great as Matt Murdock. Sorry, Ben Affleck. You did good for the movie at that time, but you're much better at Batman. Anyways.
Way better.
There's my hot take, I guess I'll say about
No, I think
Mr.
everybody
Ben.
feels it.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit. He did okay with Daredevil, but man, he's one of my favorite Batman, that's for sure.
He's really good at Bruce Wayne.
I just want a whole movie of his. So bad.
The Bat flick, oh my gosh.
Yeah, please.
Anyways, so Charlie Cox, he embodies Matt Murdock so well. You could tell how much he's loved the character, because even after the show on Netflix was wildly successful, after that was canceled and they had to wait for legal reasons for like 4 years or something, and he still was pushing for a reboot, and they got it. And that first season, I know some people would say, oh, it's a little slow for Born Again jumping back into it. But remember, you're jumping back into it. Mm-hmm. There was a specific story that they wanted to tell with Matt Murdock of what's happened since season 3, which, if you don't remember season 3 of Daredevil, a lot of crap went down, and it was so good. Yeah. Anyways, and I love that Disney is, at Marvel and Studios in particular, is recognizing that that was just a good show. Why are we going to try to remake that into something else with the same actors? Like, they had all the pieces right there. Just bring back the same people who did that, and you're just going to continue the success. And they're doing that. That was no different. I love this black suit in this episode.
Yeah, me too.
You finally get to see the DD on it, and it looks so cool. And the suit looks very unique, because it almost looks like it's his red suit that they spray painted black, because as you can see in some of the fight scenes, you see the wear and tear and the red starts showing up, which creates this cool color on it. So it's so cool. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert. Sorry I didn't say that in the beginning, but at this point, if you've seen that we're going to review that and we're going to talk about it, we're going to get into some spoilers here. But what I've said so far is nothing new. You saw the black suit in the trailers. So now we're definitely getting to spoilers. That first scene reminds me of all of the Netflix action-packed scenes that they've done. And it was so Daredevil good.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely took all the best of what they've done with this character. And I'd even say in season 1 as well of Born Again. And they know now what they're doing with it. Mm. I often wonder if they could have went back in time and been like, okay, so they couldn't have just done Born Again from the start, right?
Yeah.
But it's okay to go through all the other stuff, you know? Mm. He looked great. The action is fantastic. I love the gritty, low-budget crime feel of it. Mm-hmm. You can tell this show doesn't cost a lot to make. Mm-hmm. And that's actually something that helps it a lot. Because it really makes you feel like, okay, you're there with it. This is realistic, you know. I enjoy that part of it, for sure. Yeah, no,
I agree. That's a good point to bring up there, because sometimes nowadays when you think of Marvel, you think of some of that supernatural type stuff, the superpowers and all that. And I even have a friend who says, "Oh, Daredevil really doesn't have an ability, so I don't consider him a superhero." But you have to, for people who think that way or anything,
he doesn't have an ability.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
your friend needs to rewatch it then.
I mean,
I don't think many blind people got sonar. Sorry, guy.
Yeah, just because
I understand it's a little different in the show, but it's not people are honing in on people's heartbeats like Daredevil is. Like there's something to him that's very different than.
And like we see in this episode, he layers all the sound and noise around him from miles away. He's able to layer and figure out what it is and what is closest to him and what's more important for him to go and do his
there's an unspoken mutation there for sure.
Yeah. But No, I agree. I would say though that I love seeing a grounded superhero movie. I think that's one reason why in the CW for DC, Arrow took off as well as it did, because he's just a guy with a bow and arrow, but he has such a great story and it was told so well that it started off their whole little their version of their multiverse there of all the DC stuff on TV. And I think that Daredevil, he doesn't need that bigger budget because it really is your basic bare knuckles crime fighting and solving and trying to take down a guy who's becoming politically ambitious, who's a really bad guy, and things like that. That you didn't need some of the supernatural stuff in it to make it good. It just was really good storytelling.
Yeah,
that's what Daredevil is. So I love that. The characters to return. I was shocked how much Karen Page is actually in this first episode, and it sounds like she's going to be a big regular for the next season, because she was one of my favorite characters in the first original Daredevil show on Netflix for those 3 seasons. I thought she was, at times she's a little bit whiny, but I think her character is supposed to be that way. Yeah. So, but I love that she's in it. She's one of my favorite characters, so cool to see her.
I struggle with her. It's the actress, unfortunately, and that's going to be this taste thing, but it's sometimes I don't believe her. I don't know. Sometimes she comes off as, okay, you need to just calm down and shut up. But I get it, and maybe there is a reason for that, and maybe that's kind of the character. Because I can say the same thing about Kirsten Dunst in the first Spider-Man sequels. I couldn't stand her at all. It's or another great example is in Batman, his love interest. What's her name?
Rachel?
Yeah, Rachel. Okay, Rachel, do you want him to be Batman? You don't want him to be Batman. If he's not Batman, you're not going to be with him anyway. And this and that. It's like, kid, just shut up. And, it's like I don't want you to be Spider-Man anymore. Why don't you want to date Spider-Man? Get out of here. It's like, and I'm not saying that's her problem, but sometimes I feel that with her, where it's like, okay, you're just. You can kind of calculate the next time she's going to have an issue with something or be a problem with when it comes down to their characters and how they interact with each other. But no, she's great, and I think that what we got in this first episode is as long as we keep it this, I'm going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Some of the characters from the first season of Born Again that I wasn't really too into, like his therapist that he was dating type thing.
Yeah.
I do like the twist they did with her in this season. That makes me really intrigued to see what they're going to do with that character. That now she's full on board with Wilson Fisk and doing it's very, when you think about like a political aspect, the dynamics of it is really cool and interesting. I wouldn't say cool as in like, oh, I want to be part of it. More of cool as in experiencing it and watching it type thing.
Right.
Where she's now basically the head therapist or psychologist for these mass vigilantes that they capture, and her questioning and the way she's going about asking them and telling them we're going to do what we're going to do to you type thing makes it almost like they're playing the system enough where, oh, we're giving you due process, but it's in our favor and always, no matter what type thing. So I'm curious to see how long she as a character is going to sustain that, if she really is a good guy that's just in the brush of it all. But and so what are your thoughts on her as that character in particular?
I'm fine with it. I like it. I have an overall issue with this show that is kind of broad when it comes down to the majority of these kind of shows. And it's not just Marvel stuff. It's the TV show formula that I'd struggle with. Where I'm not as so invested in that character because that character feels rehashed, or maybe that's the wrong word. But I think it feels redundant. I think these shows, when I say these shows, I'm talking the majority of TV shows out there, have an issue with introducing characters, having a neat story, and then letting them go. Because they tend not to let them go. There's often, okay, well, what can we do to twist this and twist that? So the problem that I have with these kind of TV shows is they have a lot of redundancy with their characters. And they tend to introduce people, put them in a really unique situation, and then, oh, let's give it a twist because they're going to be around for a while. And I'm not a fan of that. Because it's like, don't be afraid to introduce a character and have a unique story, and then they're just gone. You know, my favorite shows, or what I tend to, for my taste wise, is I like the ones that take those chances where, why couldn't she have just been that character to him for a while, and then why does she have to still be here? Because now we're going to overcomplicate this whole thing. Because my problem with Daredevil is there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, there's a lot of characters and a lot of things. You know, I like that Bullseye. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Clearly, he's kind of got his own agenda, and you fall under whatever category that is of the day for him. You know, he kind of saves Daredevil's butt in this one.
Yeah.
You know, with his identity at least. Ooh. You know, for sure. Like, that kind of was out of nowhere.
What a cliffhanger for that.
Yeah, it's good, but at the same time, it kind of makes me go, you know, I don't know. It's like, so we're going to reuse this character now in a way, and, you know, don't be afraid to do these things. I think the Born Again guys needed whatever they got for this season, they got already in the can. Mm-hmm. But I think if they're going to move forward, they need to go look at like what DC did with the Penguin. And spoiler alert, but you introduce a character in the Penguin that he befriends and becomes his partner and his friend the whole time. And at the end, Penguin still kills him. Mm-hmm. And you're like, whoa, what's that mean for more? It's like, well, it just means another character coming, a new one. And that, to me, is way more exciting. Mm-hmm. You know, that's something I liked about what Game of Thrones kind of had for it, was anybody could die at any time, which, you know, after a while you realize that's not necessarily true. But they weren't afraid to, you know, if we're going to go a different direction, we're going to go a different direction quick. And I like that. You know, there's a show called The Shield back when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And they weren't afraid to just, you know what, we're just going to introduce a character. And guess what? That character is not going to amount to much, but he's got this specific spot to tell this story because that's part of the story. And I think that this show needs that because I have a hard time caring about the stakes because it feels like, well, don't worry. In the end, folks, his identity is going to be safe. He's going to win or still be alive. They're not just going to kill him. He's not going to kill Fisk, you know. Like, we know that's not going to happen. Maybe. But that's just it. If you thought it could, you'd be like, whew, this could be really interesting. Because I struggle watching this. It's a half hour long, and there's moments where I'm kind of, like, bored. And I'm like, okay. And then what this show has going for it, though, is the acting and the characters are good. So then a moment of tension or something happening will kind of like pull me in a bit. Oh, wow, that's really good. You know, but then it's like it goes into like, okay, boring. Oh, here we are. This is the meat of it. Okay, boring. When, you know, I'm going to remember plot points of these series. When my favorite shows, I remember full episodes. Mm-hmm. And that's something Daredevil's failing for me to have. I can't think of one full episode of Daredevil where from beginning to end, I was like, that was the best thing I've seen on this show ever. I can think of scenes that are fantastic in the show. I mean, some of the best between him and Frank was that whole argument they had about when after Foggy died, you know, and Frank's calling him out on him being a vigilante. Fantastic scene in a whole episode that's got not a lot going on, right? Mm-hmm. Or that doesn't really, it's not as energetic, you know? Mm-hmm. I can tell you the very beginning, opening, and the very ending in the middle of the very first episode of The Shield because of how inventive and how unpredictable it was. And that show for 90 episodes stayed that way. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's other shows, that's just a great example. And it's the best one I can come up with right now. I mean, there's others. Game of Thrones is another good example. Where it's just like there's episodes of that show that I can tell you from beginning to end are great. This show's got right now, it's got moments of seasons. And I'm not saying it can't be great. I'm not saying it's not great. I'm not saying it's not worth watching. Watch it. It's fun. It's a good watch. You know, and if it was an hour long though, I'd be watching something else before it. But because it is a half hour, it's a little easier for me to throw on because
I think they're close to an hour. They're about 45 minutes to 50
minutes. Oh yeah.
But, yeah.
Sometimes they're a little short, right? I mean, this first one was a little, well, it was almost an hour, right? I can't remember.
I have to look it up.
It was pretty close. I felt like it was a lot shorter than I expected it to be, but maybe the pacing is good. The pacing's good. That helps.
Yeah.
Because like that, it doesn't make it feel long, which is good. So and a good show will do that. So like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad show, folks. I'm not saying you shouldn't watch it. I'm just giving you my 2 cents on it. where I do feel like it could lose me quick if it just keeps getting redundant. Like, let's get crazy. You know, when they killed Foggy, I thought that was one of the best things they did. Because it was taking a character everybody likes, character close to the character, to our main character, and kill him. You're good. You know, it's like, I'm not that I'm glad the guy's dead, but it's just good because it makes for a better story, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And we are in this really weird area where Fisk is clearly a bad guy in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. He's not even afraid to just be a corrupt piece of crap, you know, and everyone now knows it, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, he's tricking a lot of the main general population to vote for him and all that. But everybody that gets to know him knows that this dude's up to no good.
Yeah. Well, you see in this episode, one of the things they brought on from the first season of Born Again to now is those little BB Urich, the independent journalist type clip art that she's doing, the clips of getting the real voice of New York City. But you notice in this first episode that she is almost like propagandizing. I don't know, I said that word wrong.
That's good.
Anyways, using this propaganda for the Mayor Fisk and his administration, what he wants to do and stuff like that, which you ask, it's the same thing in real life. You go down the street and you ask one person that may be viewing life or the political aspect in one way, how's it going to you? And they're like, oh, this is crap, I hate everything, blah, blah. You ask someone else that has a different mindset, oh, it's nothing but roses, and everything is so good, yay. You know, so it's just part of the good example when you watch this episode of those clips, and then the other clips that they're showing of what Fisk is really doing, but they're using an anonymous mask thing, and it makes it look like it's Wilson Fisk, but it's not Wilson Fisk, obviously, you know, things like that. It's interesting to see how we as the audience are watching how they're propagandizing. I said the word again. Whose side are you on type thing? What is not the rose-colored glasses? What is really what's going on type thing? Yeah. And I think that when you get in power, you can make things look as good as you want them to make them look. But if something is rotten, it's always going to come up. And I think that that's a theme we're going to see in this season is that Wilson Fisk can only go so long with making it look like New York City has a new fresh coat of paint. But if the things are rotten underneath it, it's going to start peeking through. Right. And that's going to be part of Matt Murdock, not Daredevil. But yeah, that's one of the things I like about Daredevil is that Matt Murdock is a lawyer going up against Fisk, but Daredevil is a vigilante going up against Fisk, attacking him on both fronts, which Fisk has this unique position of needing to be attacked on both fronts like that. Yeah. And now with this new character, Matthew Lillard, who great
addition. Yeah.
Great addition. Oh, great guy. I met him at Comic-Con a couple years ago. He's just really cool to talk to and just to be around. You know, he's one of those actors that actually wants to be around you type thing.
He cares about his fans,
Exactly, yes, yeah. And he, his character, I don't think we really get a full picture. I don't even know if we get a full name of who the character is, to be honest, yet. But I might have missed that. What we do know is he has a direct line in D.C. to Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, that immediately tied that into the MCU and what we saw in Thunderbolts. And from my understanding, I believe Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is taking place around the same time the Thunderbolts movie is taking place in the MCU. There is out there online real detailed, very excellent nerds, and I say that affectionately because I do love watching all your content, but we're all in the same nerd boat, okay? Just some of us are different colors.
Yeah.
They were able to break down exactly where this show is lining up in the MCU timeline, because that does become a little important when you get to like Avengers movies and see where are people at, what's the scope of New York City, because we saw New York City in the Thunderbolts movie, and it didn't look like it was under martial law, which was at the end of Born Again Season 1 when Wilson Fisk put everything under martial law, meaning curfews, meaning all bunches of this crazy stuff. And so we were like, well, where does this movie and this show then take place? It turns out they're kind of incongruent. So by the time Born Again Season 2 is done, theoretically, from my understanding, is when Thunderbolts, the end of Thunderbolts happens. So then martial law, we're assuming, is not going to be in effect. But even then, there's nothing that's detrimental to watch Born Again to see Thunderbolts and vice versa. They really have kept them separate, which is good. I don't like it when they intertwine them too much because we've talked about that before, where you have to watch one in order to watch the other. It doesn't look like they've done that with this, but I like that they complement each other.
Well, they can fix this problem if they just told us.
It's true.
But they can't even tell us. They're all like, well, some of it does, and maybe we're not sure yet. No, but moving forward, it's not. But moving forward after the next 4 things we do,
communication is key.
It's like just make them your mind up. It's these either are in the same universe or they're not.
Yep.
If they are, we'll pay attention, and you make sure your continuity's straight, and we'll be good. If they're not, then we'll still watch them because we still want to see them. But just let us know that, because Spider-Man is not going to mention at all about this. He falls under this vigilante issue they have. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to... they don't talk about him in the show. Yeah. It's like, okay, you can't even mention his name?
I know there's a rights thing where they're not supposed to do so much with, like, interconnecting the shows because he's not supposed to be in the show. The most we got...
Then don't do it.
The most we got in Born Again Season 1 was the first episode when he mentioned spider people or spider... like...
They're afraid to say it, like the
walls,
mutant word, the M word. Don't say mutant because it's going to mean... Like, come on.
Yeah. Anyways.
They just got to make up their mind. They got to figure out what they're going to do with it. And if they don't have the rights, and then do what you have to do with it at the time, right?
Yeah.
But it's that's where I struggle with the... But you are right. For the most part, it doesn't really... If you can block that out a little bit, okay, I can block it out a bit.
Well, one thing that I'm putting these pieces together, maybe it's me being optimistic as a fan and trying to keep this all connected and logical in my brain. Is that Spider-Man is kind of like what Wilson Fisk would deem as a vigilante.
For sure.
But sounds like what they're doing in the Spider-Man movies, there are so many different things going on, like villains or people like the Punisher that are in there and all that stuff, that you're creating New York City isn't Spider-Man's home only type thing. Yeah. So I could see where they don't have to mention him so often, although he arguably is one of the biggest names in New York City. It's kind of hard to miss it, but...
I'll tell you what the MCU has done perfectly, though, with their shows and their movies, is don't live in New York City. Because it all goes to crap there. With Fisk in charge, with alien invasions, with all the bad guys from Spider-Man, just don't live in New York City.
The Thunderbolts.
It's like I'm gonna live out in Utah somewhere in the mountains, and I'll watch all this on TV. It's like
Texas ain't looking pretty bad.
Yeah. Let's stay out of New York.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that's true. Poor New York City. That
always gets it.
It always gets it. Both in fiction and in real life, it always gets it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so anything else you want to add to this episode?
No, I'm looking forward to the next one, and the next one is going to be the double, from what we understand. So that'll be fun. We'll get together and watch that together. Yeah. And this time we didn't, I'm looking forward to it. I just don't want the show to turn into The Walking Dead, and right now it's on that cusp for me, where we're still good. Walking Dead was great till season 4. After season 4, it kind of was like, we're going to keep repeating ourselves now. And they meet a bunch of people that are survivors, and the survivors end up being bad guys. Yeah. And they did that 9 times later, So it's kind of like, okay, this show is getting to that where if we're going to have some climax or we're going to do some big changes, let's do it. I think the thing about TV shows is people need to understand this isn't Law and Order. This isn't The Simpsons or Family Guy, where everything you do in each episode has almost nothing to do with what you're doing next. This is a continuous story that keeps going on, and there has to be an end eventually. And I'd rather them end on a high of something that makes sense and it's really good. Yep. Because even my favorite shows I like, when they ended, I'm like, oh man, I wish it didn't end. But in the long run, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, what a great ending. Yeah. And I'd rather have that than a crappy ending. So I don't want the show to do that just because they can, just because there's viewers, and just because. Don't do the just becauses. Make this be a point. Like you said, Fisk is only going to be this for so long. At some point, that's got to end. And I don't want to see Vincent go away as that character. He's awesome. But if he doesn't end right, then what's all this matter? Good example, Dexter on Showtime. Great show. And the ending sucked. And now I can't watch any of the other show because I know how it turns out, and it makes me feel bad for
Yeah.
what, I like to be able to rewatch something knowing it's going to that real good place, where it's supposed to be. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all. Other than that,
No.
right now, though, I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. It looks great. I love the look of this. The action, it's great. His suit is sick. I've never had a problem with how they looked at it anyways. They've always done a good... This show's done a great job with their looks, and I'm curious to see where they go with a lot of this stuff. And Matthew Lillard, what's that guy all about? I love that scene of him and Fisk and Fisk's wife at the dinner table there.
Well,
what a great scene, because it's like there's a power dynamic happening there.
Yeah.
Where neither one of them, I think, understand how powerful each one is. And that's going to be interesting to see how that turns out.
I like that for Wilson Fisk because he is that type of character where he is used to being the big boss of his own crime syndicate that he's doing, and now he's in the world of politics, which great place for a corrupt person, to be honest. But now he's butting up against powerful people that are like him to a degree. And now we're seeing one of the things I always loved about Wilson Fisk is you could see how his brain works almost like a child type thing, and when he doesn't get his way, what he can do. So I love seeing him put in the same playpen as another kid that's kind of like that, to see who's going to come out on top and what the ramifications are going to be for whoever comes out on top. Because the last time someone offended Wilson Fisk's wife in the Daredevil show, he did
and
not.
She's easily offended.
But he did not fare too well.
No.
And the fact that happened, and he pointed out, well, you offended her, made me think, is something going to go down? But I'm like, nothing's going down. What's going on? It makes me want to know, who is Matthew Lillard playing? What type of strings do they have? Oh, to see Wilson Fisk in the same room as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine or someone that's big, and Samuel L. Jackson type Nick Fury, be like, what will that look like? But anyways.
I love those moments in movies and in TV shows when there's a character that we know a lot about, that we know what they're capable of, and they meet someone who doesn't know what they're capable of, and we're in our minds, we're just like, dude, you don't know who you're talking to right now.
Oh boy, be quiet.
It's like if you only knew who you said that to, and I love those scenes, and that's one of them, and that's something the show does real well, and I'm excited to see more of that.
And Vincent D'Onofrio does an amazing Kingpin.
He could play a scary. He's the nicest dude too, like in real life. But boy, he plays a scary guy real good.
He's just good. Just good casting. Anyways.
Yes.
So let us know in the comments below, by the way, guys, and send us a message on what you thought of the Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 1. We did our little bit of highlights of our favorite moments of it and a little bit of a recap here or there. But please let us know what your thoughts are on that. And now we're going to move on to our main topic at hand. All right. So, I'm going to have my brother here. He typed something up about this. So, go ahead. Give us the intro to this segment.
So, we are on our march to Doomsday. This is our second movie that we have watched in the MCU. It's technically the second to come out in the MCU, official. 2008's The Incredible Hulk. This was a fun one, guys. I went back and I looked to see what all the stuff that behind the scenes and how this movie got made. I'm going to run down a few things with you. First of all, I'm going to say this guy's name wrong, so I do apologize. But we're directed by Louis Leterrier. Would you say that was correct? A good way to...
Leterrier?
I don't know.
Louis
All I know is he did a Clash of the Titans remake. He directed Now You See Me, which is kind of a flop in my opinion, and Fast X. So nothing too huge or big that makes me go, holy cow, I can't believe it. But he's definitely handled big, spectacle before. I can't remember where the Hulk lies in. I think the Hulk came before these. So I think the Hulk kind of got him these roles. So, and as you can see when we get later on into it, it's not the big spectacle that we have a problem with when it comes down to this movie. So it's starring Edward Norton as Bruce Banner. Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky, and technically the Abomination, and William Hurt as Thaddeus Ross, and Tim Blake Nelson as Samuel Stearns. Good important thing about this film is its beginning. It kind of starts out with failure. 2003, Ang Lee made a movie just called Hulk, which was not a clean success. It made money, but it was not a critical hit. Claimed to be too slow, not enough action, a little too psychological. It just wasn't up to par. But the box office was good, and it showed that there was interest in the character. So Marvel decided to let the Hulk be their second hero story that they play on their march to do an Avengers movie, basically. But instead of a reboot or a sequel of the 2003 Hulk, so they decided not to reboot the Hulk, but it's definitely not a sequel to the one that was done in 2003. They called this one, and they quoted this one as a requel, which I've never heard before, and I still to this day have no idea what it means. And you'll see as we move on what complications that brings. Much like Spider-Man, though, we have to also remember Marvel has the complicated rights to the Hulk. In 2006, Marvel required creative control over the Hulk, but Universal had distribution rights. So Marvel could make any Hulk movie they want, technically, any way that they want to, but it was up to Universal to decide when and how it was released. And that can be, very contentious behind the scenes. If you can do, Marvel did have rights to do whatever they want to do with this character, but Universal technically could have not have released it if they didn't like it. So they still kind of had, end say in it, or they could have messed with when it was released or how it was released and how well it was taken out, and we'll see, so they're very careful about that. That's the main reason why the Hulk hasn't had a standalone movie since, because they don't want to take the chances of it not working. I mean, they worked it out with Spider-Man, but there's also, I think the deal in Spider-Man is a little different because there's more of a profit on both sides of what they had done with the Hulk at the time. And as long as he's a secondary character and the film isn't an official Hulk film, they can put him anywhere they want. That's kind of what the deal comes down. So like you see in Thor Ragnarok, and the majority of the Hulk story going forward in the MCU is told through other movies, which honestly has actually kind of worked for the character in my opinion, but we'll talk about that as these movies come up. Marvel did not want to do a full reboot. They thought that no one would be interested in a complete new origin story, but they didn't want the 2003 Hulk movie to feel like it's a tie-in. So their middle ground was starting the film with Banner already on the run and in hiding, and a strange, trippy montage of the accident that created the Hulk through Banner's eyes. So they had a way of, like, we're going to give you a beginning, origin, but not really jump into it, and let's just get into him being Hulk. And which I think, has its ups and downs. One big thing to remember is Marvel at this point as well was still trying to figure out just what it was going to become. According to Feige, Iron Man and Incredible Hulk were more experiments than they were planned out, seeing if it's even possible to link and make an extended universe. Also, at this time, there were some leadership changes going on behind the scenes. A power struggle between producers ended with Kevin Feige rising to control by the end of the production. So technically, Feige wasn't your head guy at Marvel when it comes down to these characters until after these movies were made. So there was a lot of, is this going to work? Creatively, what are we going to do? What should we do? And then it was also kind of had this big old cloud of problematic production, okay? So ironically, the director did not want Edward Norton as a character, Bruce Banner at first. He actually wanted Mark Ruffalo, which is kind of funny because that's who ultimately becomes Bruce Banner later on. Either way, Norton got the role. It's not quite certain on what happened there. I think Ruffalo actually said no, and they kind of decided to stick with Norton, but I never did find anything concrete on why they ended up going Edward Norton at the time. So he got the role, and as soon as he had the door open, he started rewriting large portions of the script. He wanted a more darker, more character-driven story, like a serious drama. The original writer, Zach Penn, did not agree, nor would the Writers Guild credit Norton with a writing credit on the film. So there's a lot of issues there where he did do some rewrites, but they wouldn't credit him because they didn't agree with it. But once he was already in it and the filming had already started, money was already being spent, and you're kind of stuck with what you got. So when you have your main writer and your actor trying to do different things, you got a lot of heads button, and I think that's something this movie was plagued with. There's major creative conflict during the editing. Norton wanted a longer, deeper cut of the film. Marvel wanted a faster, more accessible movie as for audiences. Marvel ultimately cut the film down and removed a lot of Norton's character material, ultimately causing a big feud between Norton and the filmmakers, which goes into promotional problems with that. Because of that, the production problems bled into the promotional issues as well. Norton did not attend promotional events like press tours. He instead went to Africa for humanitarian work, but studios read that as this guy doesn't like to play ball. And, it's hard to say. I'm not going to tell a guy he can't go do some real good stuff for the world with his fame and his money. But, yeah, to not promote your own movie that, you're kind of the star of, obviously there were some issues going on there, for sure. And the timing problems of it. If that wasn't enough, it also had some timing issues. It released in theaters 3 weeks earlier. It released in theaters 3 weeks earlier, and it was such a hit. I'm sorry, I think I messed this up. Let me restart that. Can you okay. Mm-hmm. So they also had some timing problems. Let me read that again if that was. Oh, yeah. So it's restart, sorry. It had some timing problems. If that wasn't enough, it also came out the same summer that Iron Man did. So it kind of got overshadowed. And if it wasn't going to be that good, and Iron Man was going to be awesome, which is what ended up happening, then, it kind of got overshadowed by Iron Man for sure, immediately. And the thing is, though, on a budget of $150 million, it grossed $265 million. So it's not a flop, but it also wasn't like a breakout hit. Due to the drama, Marvel and Edward Norton parted ways, explaining the recast in the MCU. This happening had some silver linings to it. It helped establish a structure of what will soon be the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and also shown Kevin and Marvel and them what not to do in the future for sequels, if they ever do a Hulk sequel, which we hope they do. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have on that. And, very troubled kind of production to this movie. It shows on screen somewhat, as we'll get into. But after that, I'm going to turn it over to my brother. He's going to give you a quick little synopsis of what the movie is, and we'll dive right deep into this one and see what we think of it as it goes.
Alrighty, so The Incredible Hulk, the synopsis of the film. A scientist, excuse me, pardon me, a scientist named Bruce Banner is forced to live in hiding after a gamma radiation experiment turns him into the Hulk whenever he loses control. While trying to find a cure, he is hunted by a military and pursued by a ruthless soldier, Emil Blonsky, who becomes a monster himself after undergoing a dangerous transformation. Banner must embrace the very thing he fears in order to stop Blonsky and save the city. Sounds good, the synopsis.
Yeah.
Now, let's see how they executed that film.
I'll let you do Act 1, and we'll do what we did last time. Sound good?
Sure. Yeah, I guess the first thing I want to say before I start bringing into Act 1 is your opening there about all the issues behind the film real quick.
How do you feel about that? You got anything to add?
Well, Marvel at this time as a universe and as a studio is still kind of a baby, so I get it that whenever someone is starting off and they're trying to do something as ambitious as trying to create a universe, interconnected movies and things like that. No one's ever done this to this extent before. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could say some franchises were successful, like Star Wars and things like that, but to interconnect all these different characters in its own universe, and this being the second movie, in doing so, I'm sure they had a lot of regrets on how they did the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that as we're gonna discuss, some of that came through in the film. That us as audience were like, not so sure if this really worked out, but at the end of the day, they did it. I understand why they chose Hulk to be their second character to do this, because at that time, Marvel Studios wasn't beholden to Disney. They were their own independent studio, shopping around between Paramount, They're able to cut a deal with Universal, do a movie, things like that. So it made sense. They were probably thinking, oh, we could do a Hulk trilogy in our future type thing. That's before Disney swept in and said, we're going to be your parent company, and we're going to do everything for you. Be like, great. Well, sorry, Hulk, we can't do a deal with Universal because Mom and Dad don't get along in that regard there. So, anyways, I see their ambition in starting a movie like this. But I also see where those missteps happened, and hearing a lot about that behind the scenes. Funny that I didn't know that the director really wanted Mark Ruffalo in the beginning, and for some reason he turned it down. It didn't work out. Whatever the reason.
I was surprised to read that as well.
Yep, and then ultimately he becomes Bruce Banner, and that I can't think personally of anyone else I would pick for him. So
that's great. Yeah.
It just shows that there was some creativity behind the scenes. We're like, this is what we want. This is what we have to settle for right now, type thing, you know. And Edward Norton, he is a good actor in his own right, but I can tell that there was going to be some problems just on his version of creativity versus other actors' versions.
Yeah.
Anyways, not to diss him, because like I said, he is a good actor. I've seen a couple movies that he's been in. He's a great actor, and he even did the acting part in this movie really well. It's just that behind the scenes, when you hear about the drama behind the scenes, that really could put a dampener on the movie in whole. Mm-hmm. And obviously this movie needs as much promotion as it could get in order to make it more successful. And so it's a miracle that it made the money that it did with the drama that it seemed to have coming from it. But it made money.
Anyways. Yeah, the defense I give to Ed Norton and his way of thinking with it is this was at the beginning stages, right? So I think when this movie was pitched to him, or I don't know if he came to the project first or project come to him, but I think he looked at it as, look, I'm probably only going to do one of these. Mm-hmm. You know, I know the idea of it being a not multiverse, but a connected universe was there, but I still think at the time most of them thought this might not work, right? Because they've seen it fail. Yep. You know, and I think he thought that, and I don't think he's the actor for that though. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that he can't. I think if he was sitting right here, he probably would tell us that. I don't think he wants to do that. But see, when it was pitched to Ruffalo at the time, it was a one-and-done movie, probably like this, where it might work, it might work not. And I think Ruffalo was a little more worried about his image. He wasn't as well-known. He hadn't done as big as roles as Norton had at the time. Norton was a much bigger face than Ruffalo was at the time, as an actor-wise. Yeah, I think he'd come off of probably one of the biggest famous movies he's done is that Fight Club, and everybody loves him in that, and he's great in that. But when it was pitched to Ruffalo the second time during the Avengers movie, at that point, this is a cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. Ruffalo went into it with his eyes open, knowing I'm probably going to do this for the next 40 years of my life, for sure. And I think Ruffalo's a good guy for that. I think he is also an actor that was okay with that. Because he's arguably, might be somewhat of a hot take, we'll talk about this later, but he might be the best actor in the MCU. When it comes down to our actual official heroes, because there's side actors that are better, but as our official heroes, he might be the best actor in the MCU, outside of the MCU. But either way, he, I think, got into it with his eyes open, knowing there's going to be more to this. Mm-hmm. When Norton's like, even, let's say this movie was awesome, and all his things was right, and it turned out to be, and they did it exactly that way, I can't see him being Hulk still. Because he's just doesn't come off as the kind of actor to me that likes to do these mega sequels, or and maybe not. Maybe it's different. Maybe that's the part. Maybe he'd tell me complete opposite, and he'd say, "No, I really wish I got that." But I don't think so, because I've heard him talk on Rogan and a few other podcasts that it's not that kind of style. Isn't his style anyway. He'd rather jump from movie to movie. And personally, as an actor, he's better that way. He's awesome when he's in something that he can just dive in for one time and then not have to come back for. So personally, I give him a little bit of other than the dabbling in, but I also, like I said, I think he thought it had to be the best it could be, because he probably wasn't going to do any more anyway, most likely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they all probably kind of thought that because they weren't sure yet, obviously.
And I feel like this is a good, and I don't know this as a fact or anything. It's just rumor. I'm sure if we ever get the opportunity to talk to someone who's behind the early stages development of Marvel Studios and how they're creating all this stuff, their casting directors and things like that, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the issues that happen with this movie is good that happened early on in the MCU, so we could settle, figure it out what to do moving forward and make a stronger universe type thing.
Well, I can't wait for the day they finally kind of end the MCU and we get that 5-hour behind the scenes making of the best series in film history, and that's when we'll get like all these awesome real anecdotal, this is what happened, this is who did what, and because I'm sure there's tons of things that we haven't heard or that we know or they haven't confirmed. And
but I bet, we don't always know unless someone reveals what the contracts of some of these actors are, but we do hear multiple times when someone signs on for a Marvel role, they're now, when they sign on, they're locked in for like 4 movies, a video game, a theme park appearance. Yeah. There's like a huge, at least 4 movies. Some of them have like 10 movie arcs that they're locked in for in their contract. And I think I can see them putting that in after this movie, saying, well, we're not going to get the star of our movie. They think he's only going to do a one and done type movie, if that was his intention. And so when we get our future Hulk guy, we want someone who could commit and say, I will do 10 Hulk related projects. I will do when Robert Downey Jr. is a great example that he didn't have anything going for him. That's why he was so good at the role, and well, not just good at the role, but he poured his whole life into it, and so he owes a debt to Marvel in that sense of you revitalized my career. So it was easy to have him sign something to say, I'm going to be Tony Stark for like 10 Avengers movies. We have no idea, but
yeah, I don't know if that I actually if I had to guess, that wasn't the first contract. I bet it was, let's do this and see what happens. By Iron Man 2, I bet it was at least was agreed through Avengers. And then I think the contracts got bigger and bigger because it was obviously this is working.
And then you had a little more stability with a studio that now was bought by a parent company that had that money flow stability type thing. Where Marvel's just doing what they could do to, I'm sure that when Universal partnered up with Marvel Studios to do the Incredible Hulk, a lot of the finance stuff I know the Marvel Studios made the film, but between promotion, distribution, and I'm sure some production management, something. There had to have been something from Universal to say, hey, we're going to help you do this because you are a new company that you were very successful here. Whatever,
I'm sure there's some details for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't like DC where they were always part of under Warner Brothers, from my knowledge. They for the longest time, so they had stability, financial stability for their characters. It's just they didn't have the architect like Kevin Feige to usher in an actual connected DC universe the way Marvel has been able to successfully do. So
if only they had comic books they could do it off of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So
no offense, DC, I guess.
You want me to read the Act 1?
Yeah, you go ahead and do Act 1, and we'll talk it like we did last time.
Okay. So Act 1, the beginning. Let's see. Scientist Bruce Banner is on the run in Brazil, living in hiding while searching for a cure to rid himself of the Hulk. We learn through a quick montage that a failed experiment turned him into the uncontrollable creature, making him a target of the U.S. military led by Thaddeus Ross. When Bruce Banner's location is discovered, a military raid forces him to transform and escape, destroying everything in his path. Realizing he couldn't stay hidden forever, Banner returns to the U.S. to reconnect with Betty Ross and pursue a potential cure with the mysterious scientist, Mr. Blue.
Okay.
All right. I will admit, before we get started, that I had a hard time filling in our questionnaire that we had here. Just because I don't know if it was the movie started lagging down for me, or I couldn't think of the standout moment like we have in our questionnaire, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to shoot from the hip when we did this episode and be like, I'm going to do the best I can with answering this. But why don't you go ahead? What do you think worked for the first act?
Oh, not much. I wish this movie, and boy, we said this before we went on air. We ranked all our Marvel movies from, best to worst. And this was surprisingly higher on my list at the time. And now rewatching it like this, it's definitely going to lose some points. I forget the issues I have with this movie, and I think there's a part of me that wants to like this movie more than it deserves, and that's my problem. One thing that worked is I think the action is good. I do like the action of this movie. I like this chase scene, although there's a moment in it that really makes me laugh and chuckle. Because, first of all, how easy is it to find Bruce? This makes no sense to me.
I put that under the why it didn't work for myself.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll let you touch more on that, but I'm with you. Because, like, how'd he stay in hiding this whole time if it just takes this little bit? Come on, guys. Oh, it bugs me a lot. and I like that Bruce is a kind of a goody two-shoes. Like, he's not going to let bad things happen to people, or he's going to be real careful about things. But it's almost like you can't, if you know that, and you're not sure when, because you can't control when it's going to happen, that you're going to turn into this ravenous beast if you get, I guess, upset or scared. I mean, they don't even really kind of tell us in the MCU exactly what makes him turn, other than anger, is the obvious one. But, I mean, I think Ruffalo does a great job with that, because we'll have to talk about that when we get to the Avengers, right? So with this, it's kind of, I just feel like, okay, why would he insert himself in situations that could potentially, in that place that he lives, that seems like not a fun place to live, crime-wise and everything, and he's this guy that doesn't fit in there. Like, all this time, he's been kept under wraps. I don't know. I don't see how he's done it. I get they do this little montage of him meeting this guy and teaching him how to do breathing exercises. And, you know, I get the movies doing it, and they want me to go there with it. They want you to take the leap. And I do take the leap enough. But there's a moment in this when they come for him, where when they're coming for him, first of all, if you don't want to make a lot of noise, or you want to blunt, you know, make it so you don't know someone's coming, why would you shoot the dog with a tranquilizer dart and it like yelps and cries? You know, it's like if someone hears it, they're going to be, oh, that's odd. Wouldn't you just let the dog bark? Because that's usually what that dog's doing, obviously, all the time. I feel like there's people there that hate that dog because that dog's probably barking all the time, all night, all the time. So why would you like, oh, by the way, we're going to have randomly have him, you don't think it's going to make him go, oh, that's different, right? Like, okay, there goes your coming in silent kind of crap. Then it's nighttime, right? It's the middle of the night. People are sleeping, right? Isn't that what's going on? So when they bust in and he's on the run, you realize like 10 seconds later he comes around this corner, there's a bunch of kids playing basketball, and it's daytime all of a sudden. Like, man, they messed up big time this movie, continuity-wise. They just were like, I bet there's a lot of struggle in there, a lot of fighting about what are we going to do next? How are we going to do this? What's this going to mean? And it just didn't work for me, man. It just didn't work. The chase scene itself is cool. The action looks good. I think that's the problem I have with it. I'm like, man, you got these actors that are great in their spot. And then you're just like, oh, man, this movie kind of sucks around it. Yeah, I have trouble with this one. So what worked was, I mean, I believe I will take the leap and say him working on himself and keeping himself under wraps as the Hulk himself coming out, I get it. There's a guy teaching breathing exercises. That worked for me. It does work. Little unbelievable, but it's a superhero movie. I'll take that for what it is. You know, continuity-wise, it sucks. It's just not there. What didn't work is, they just found him. Like, it's this you found this guy way earlier if it was that easy, you know? A standout moment to me is, I gotta say, is the action. I'll tell you, like I said, that's the only thing that sticks out. I could care less about 90% of what happens in the beginning of this. And for the record, that montage is so melodramatic, and I don't know, man. It just did. When I watch it this time, it's almost embarrassing. I'm like, oh wow, you're taking good actors and they look awful in these moments. And I'll when we get to the end of our overall thoughts, I'll dive deeper into this, but I still think that to me is some proof that they should have done an Origins movie. And just make it a reboot to forget about the 2003 Hulk and do an Origins movie. But I have a small little pitch. We'll show at the end. We'll talk at the end for that. So that's where I'm at with it. I give the whole thing a 3 out of 10, personally. So why don't you go ahead and give me your honest thoughts?
Well, like I said, I struggled with answering this because there are times where I'm thinking, all right, what what I find would be what worked for the first act. And I do agree it's almost a little boring and almost a poor setup with how this movie's supposed to be. The only thing that I would say that I liked is maybe the breathing exercises, a little thing that shows how he's trying to become under control of the Hulk. I think that's kind of cool to see. And for this movie, I get that they didn't want to do an origin because at the time when this movie came out, 5 years prior to that was an origin Hulk movie. So it's almost like, it's one of the things I like to think about nowadays when we're thinking about the X-Men joining the MCU. It's been such a long time now, and the last X-Men movie that came out was so poor received that not many people even saw it, and those who saw it want to forget about it. So and Fantastic Four. Here's a great example. Fantastic Four, the last movie that came out under Fox was in 2015. By the time we saw them in 2025, it was 10 years later. We were able to forget about any iterations of them before and not draw comparisons. This movie was 5 years later, half a decade later, and it was still, Hulk is one of those characters in the comics, at least when you think about when you're a comic book person growing up before these movies came out and they became the face of Marvel, and it was the comics. Hulk was one of like the 3 big characters that you would think of for Marvel Comics. So that's why he had a Hulk TV show. He had Hulk cartoons. Like there's 2 or 3 of them that are out there. So I get it. They would use Hulk and all that stuff. But the only thing I'd say that of not doing an origin movie for the story that they were trying to tell here, that kind of worked for me. But I do agree that the montage of trying to show what happened was kind of choppy. They had good actors that they made them. It almost, if you didn't know anything about the Hulk and you were trying to gather what his origin was from that montage, you would get a very poor example of what happened to him. And I think that that's something, because his origin is very deep and very character driven and very emotional stakes for him as a character. Mm-hmm. I do wish they had done an origin if they were going to put him into the MCU and not tie it to the 2003 movie and want people to really forget about that. It would have been better if they did an origin, change their villain around to who they wanted, because Abomination is arguably his biggest villain rival in the comics, so it makes sense to make him the big bad guy next to Thaddeus Ross being part of his creation. But I think it would have been better if they did an origin, like you said. What didn't work for me? I would say, of all the things that we could touch upon for the first act, my biggest pet peeve was how they found out where Bruce was.
My gosh.
You're telling me that this guy's been on the run for multiple years now, wanted by the U.S. government, with the full backing of the military led by General Ross, and yet they only find him because Stan Lee has a heart attack that has high levels of gamma radiation in the drink? It's just, okay. If Bruce Banner, after being exposed to gamma radiations, already has this gamma radiation throughout his body, like even when he's just normally Bruce Banner, not transformed into the Hulk, you could detect him. They have detectors for gamma radiation.
Yeah.
There's no way a drone or a plane couldn't have flown by and said, that person looks weird.
You look at that blob of gamma radiation walking around like a human being.
And it's not like this is an established universe where there's superheroes all over the place like it is right now.
Right.
This is the second movie. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that the only thing out there right now is Tony Stark, doesn't have powers at all. He's just a super genius, flying around in an Iron Man suit. This guy actually does have powers, and you can't find him? Mm-hmm. You're telling me also that there hasn't been one... he seems easily provoked in this movie in turning into the Hulk. So it does surprise me with the area that he's living in and the crime that is very obvious. Yeah. Even that one little scene of him trying to defend his female co-worker from the pervert that's there wanting to hit on her. and almost made him angry. You're telling me that never happened daily and he never transformed to the Hulk? For someone who's supposed to be unstable in this and this infancy of him becoming the Hulk, I'm sorry. There is a lot of holes in the structure of this film in the beginning. It does get better, but for an opening to set the universe up, or not the universe, but to set the movie up to what you're going to see, there's a lot of holes.
They even indicate later on in the Avengers movie that they already know where he is.
Yes!
They just choose not to go after him.
Black Widow and S.H.I.E.L.D. already knew where they were, but yet...
S.H.I.E.L.D. just figures it's better to leave him. Just leave him be. Mm-hmm. You know, he's kind of our nuclear option, right, in a way.
But it's funny that S.H.I.E.L.D. couldn't then intervene with Thaddeus Ross in doing a military operation in a foreign country. You know, in real world talk right now, just to reference it for this moment here, we recently had a military raid in another country where we captured a leader, like within the past month or two. The coordinated efforts to get something like that done was
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So to go after the Hulk like this,
just send a bunch of guys.
Come
on, you're not ready for this guy?
Yeah, you're not ready for him. Like, it's just, they've already seen what he becomes. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
what are these guys going to do?
I'm trying to figure out a way to how they could have made that better other than just rewriting that whole beginning.
Yeah, well, it just shouldn't have been part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, regardless, that was my biggest pet peeve is how our in the U.S., our departments, our government would have figured out a man dying of a reaction to a drink somehow gets transferred that information over to the military so he could do a strike. Isn't that like a health and human services issue at best? That there's an FDA problem with this thing, you know, like, and we know how government works, ladies and gentlemen. That camera's off. We know how the government works. They don't communicate with each other well, if any. So this is going to be executed properly within our government. I'm sorry. It just makes it unbelievable.
3 weeks to get a license in the mail. I can't imagine they figure out that this soda did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, there are technical difficulties, but it's just that whole thing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, standout moment, I have to agree with you. The action that they've done for this movie is really good for Hulk action and military going against him type thing. Like, we can nitpick on how the military attacked him and how they should have been more prepared, as we just laid out. But in all honesty, the action part was not. I actually found, and I wrote this as part of, and I'll touch upon it as when we get to Act 2. But this movie knew what it was doing when it came to an action movie.
Yeah.
It didn't know what it was doing the rest of the time.
Agreed.
And I think that was reflective in either the constant changing of the script or the drama behind the scenes or things like that. Like, because after a while, you can only act your way through so much before things just start getting annoying to you. And then it shows on your face and your mannerisms. But
it often makes me wonder what stuff they cut out that Edward and them had filmed that maybe would have made this feel more. Mm-hmm. Maybe his version was what we needed. I mean, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing it after seeing this. It kind of makes me go, what was his then? Because
release the Norton cut. No,
we want the Norton cut.
Anyways,
4 hours of it. Please. Don't do that.
So my overall score, I was a little more generous than you. I think you gave it 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
I gave it 5 out of 10.
That's it.
But even that is still low compared to what it could have been.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah. All right.
Sure.
I'll let you start off Act 2 then.
All right, Act 2. So it's going to be kind of the rising conflict, okay? So, back in the U.S., Banner reunites with Betty and tracks down Mr. Blue, revealed to be Samuel Stearns. Stearns claims he can cure Banner using gamma research, but complications arise when the military closes in again. Meanwhile, soldier Emil Blonsky becomes obsessed with the Hulk's power and volunteers for the experimental super soldier enhancement. Banner briefly undergoes a procedure to remove the Hulk, but it fails. Blonsky, increasingly unstable and power-hungry, forces Stearns to mutate him further, transforming into the monstrous abomination. The situation spirals out of control as Banner realizes the threat he helped create.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh boy.
So I'll start off with saying my 2 cents on this real quick then. I will say that I was highly favorable to the second act of this film onward. I think we did get a poor start in the first act, and there were a lot of plot holes and things like that. But once you got to the second act, you got over it, and you just realized, all right, let's just keep going on this ship and this ride and see where it's taking us. I thought they did a lot of cool things in this. This act contains my favorite scene, which is actually the university scene of the Hulk fighting the military. I thought that was really executed well in almost all that they did on that end. Showing the Hulk's limitations and also showing that he can get through almost anything at that time, funny, they were prepared for him at that time with those sonic blasts, but they weren't in Brazil. Whatever. Anyways, we're not going back. We're going forward. So, the college campus of the Hulk versus the military scene I thought was well done in my opinion. I couldn't think of too much on this particular act of what didn't work, and maybe as you reminisce, it'll pop up, be like, oh yeah, that was pretty crappy. But for me, another question we have on here is, did the pacing hold up? There are in this movie throughout the whole movie, so it's not just for Act 2, but Act 1 definitely has suffered in Act 1. And you saw a touch of it in Act 3 when they're trying to get to the climax of it, and it's like taking forever, feels like, to get there. Which makes me worried if there is a 4-hour version of this out there, the Norton cut, if it's more of this, because it already seemed a little long-winded for a movie like this anyways, but regardless. I think there are some pacing issues with this movie. The movie knows what it's doing when, in this military scene with the campus and the Hulk, it's a good example of this. They know what they're doing when there's action. When they're developing action moves and the camera angles and the cinematography for it and everything around action scenes, they know what they're doing when it's an action movie really well. It does not know what it's doing when it gets to the more emotional part of things, the more human part of things that it sounds like Edward Norton wanted to push into the movie. Maybe that was Marvel's way of saying, look, we've seen what we got of it and we don't want more of it, because those are the parts that I think they had a hard time connecting with the audience. Not only with the audience, sometimes with each other, between Bruce and Betty. There are times where I'm thinking, because at this point we're in the second movie of the MCU, so you always compare things that came before it with what they're doing now. Is this stuff jiving? Is it working? I didn't see the chemistry between Betty and Bruce that I did with Gwyneth and Robert, with Pepper and Tony. And I don't know if it's an actor thing. I wouldn't say so much an actor thing as in like individually the actor thing, because we have our 2 cents on Liv Tyler in particular. But I don't know if it's just a chemistry actor thing between Edward Norton and Liv Tyler, that it just wasn't meeting the mark of what you would think Betty and Bruce would be. That's where I feel like an origin would have been so much better, because you could see them develop those. Maybe not develop those romantic feelings, but, explore them a little bit more and seeing exactly what happened. Because it's very clear, they make this in the movie, that Betty Ross loves Bruce Banner. Very clear. And they're trying to show there is a chemistry there, but then when you get their scenes alone together, it's almost like, what type of chemistry is this? Mm-hmm. What reaction are we supposed to get from it? Because it's not what you would think. But anyways, that's another thing that we have written down on here. Best character moment in Act 2, I'm going to personally say, is Emil Blonsky in the university scene. I thought that at that point he had already taken the experimental super soldier serum that the U.S. government, that Ross had given it to him, and he made it very clear, this is highly experimental, you have to be under my advisement and control, all that stuff, and I think he handled it really well as a character with obeying, but then at times not obeying, but Ross seeing the potential in that serum still working, and then all of a sudden he disobeys orders and he looks like he's a pancake, but obviously that straightens out within the matter of, I think in the movies, within a matter of days. Yeah. So whatever this super soldier serum is, Lord have mercy.
Yeah,
anyways,
it's not fun.
Anyways, I give this, just because it has my favorite scene in it, and I think it definitely picks up from where it was left in the trash before in the first act, I gave it like an 8.5 out of 10. And that might be a little too generous, but for a movie like this that has a lot of holes in it,
it's a great scene that you're talking about.
I'm gonna give it that rating. All right, what are your thoughts?
Oh boy! So I agree with the majority of everything he said. The best part about this act is definitely that fight at the college. That is great. That's some of the best stuff. I love just the moves that he makes as a human super soldier, and they're ready for the Hulk this time. There's a lot of I love that dynamic. I like that setup. It's real good, and the action is fantastic. And that's going to go with in what worked and pacing wise. Pacing. There's issues all over the place. That is the only thing about that act I like. Everything else sucks. I am not a fan of what's going on in this movie. Mm-hmm. You know why we don't buy the Betty and Banner relationship? Because she's cheating. Because she's just this. She's Jenny from Forrest Gump. You want the real villain of this story? It's freaking Betty, man.
Oh no!
Look what she's doing to this guy. This guy's just trying to be there for her, and Bruce comes around and she's just off with him somewhere. It's okay, Jenny. Whatever. It's. She only wants Forrest because he's a millionaire and she's dying and she has a kid to get taken care of, right? So yeah, that's all it comes down to. I don't buy this story. I don't like it at all. The best character moments, I'm gonna have to give it to Blonsky and Ross together. I like their scenes together. Mm-hmm. I just don't like their dynamic though. I don't buy his villainy. I don't care for, if that's the right word to use. I don't care for that he's just a bad guy already, and it's making him worse. I don't buy it. I just don't buy that stuff. It just doesn't work for me. I mean, he's in a certain position. He's a military guy with no discipline. I don't know. It bugs me. Where's the backstory of that? I know we don't always need that, but I do see the obsession he has with the power of it. But I'd rather it be out of desperation that they need to do something to get the Hulk, and I'll get into it a little later. But yeah, no, I don't care for it. It just doesn't work. I don't buy her. I don't buy the situation. The only stuff I'm okay with is him trying to get rid of the Hulk that's in him. I'm okay with all that stuff. I like that dynamic. I like Stearns in the role that he's in. I think he plays that well as this part of it. We won't get into Brave New World when that happens because it's not the same character to me. I think they messed that up. But I like the him becoming, who he becomes. I like that. I think that works for me. His character works. So for me, that does work well. That I'm going to get rid of the Hulk. This guy's going to try to help me. But it ultimately fails because, we can't just get rid of the Hulk. It's not going to happen. Okay. Yeah, no, I gave this a 5 out of 10. The only thing that holds it up is that the action in that fight scene is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's probably the best of the movie. Mm-hmm. Really, the best moment of the movie. Other than that, the chemistry is just off the charts, awful. Mm-hmm. They are cringy together. It's weird. You can almost tell as soon as the camera cuts, they're kind of like, blah, blah, blah. It makes you wonder, is something wrong? I don't know if it's them too. Mm-hmm. I particularly have an issue with Liv Tyler's acting. Edward Norton, though, is good, so you'd think that they'd be able to hold it up, but I don't know, it just didn't work. I didn't buy that, and she's just cheating on this other guy. He's a nice guy, just a guy doing his thing. You don't know what's going on. That poor guy. How do you go, how do you compete with the Hulk, right? Yeah, no, she's got her priorities are a little mixed up, and I also between her and her father, I don't buy that either. I don't buy the tension there as well, and which is on the actress. It's on Liv Tyler for that one because William Hurt's a great actor. He does this, but also I think it's the writing. I just wish that there was more to it than you just got between me and Bruce, and.
That's
especially since you're moving on, it's like I don't know. I just really have trouble with that she's moving on with this guy and she still holds that kind of grudge against her dad. I get that there's a whole situation, but once again, like you just said, that's where why didn't we get this origin that we understood this and felt this and we would feel the same that they're feeling if we knew that, Yeah, it's awful. I'm not a fan of that, so that's where I set with it 5 out of 10. I struggled through this movie. Not gonna lie, this part, the action kept me going. I just kept saying, "Okay, when's the next time he starts beating the crap out of things?"
Yeah,
and then that's what kept me kind of interested in seeing. Because even though the CGI is a little iffy for this movie, it's okay because I understand, what time does, and I remember when it came out, so I'm always a little relaxed on the CGI. So to me, it was fun seeing those things happen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny, as we were talking about that before we get into Act 3, I did forget that part of Act 2 is him going to Stearns, finally getting there and trying to get it out of him. I like that as a concept, and I think that does play good for a sequel-type movie, but with this, they're not even sure how to name this, if this is a sequel or not. It definitely isn't an origin, but it's also like, are we supposed to know? I don't know. That's where I feel like they could have done a similar movie, including an origin in the beginning to fix the whole first act, and then go from there. Like I don't know. I feel like this movie would have benefited if the very first, maybe not the first act, but like the first couple scenes were an origin scene, and then you cut to 5 years later, and he's on the run still. And he's shown during that 5-year montage in a better edited way than a kid from high school. And even though kids from high school, they edit a little bit better than that. But anyways, maybe it's just a sign of the times. But show how he's moved from different locations to keep away from the military. Maybe have him live in more hostile areas that the military doesn't go to, but then he has to figure out, I can't stay here because it's a hostile area for a reason. I could have seen some stuff like that make it a little bit more believable in the military not being able to track him down, but also give him that origin and make it where, okay, he had no choice but to come back to America for X, Y, and Z. I don't know. I feel like there's a way you could have rewritten this movie that would have made it a little bit better. But
yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of other things at play, which we'll just take it as how we got it. So yeah, I didn't mind that scene of him trying to get the Hulk out of him. I thought that actually bode well as a good origin for Samuel Stearns. It's sad what they did with him later on, years later. But still, for at least an origin for him and an origin for Abomination, I honestly will have to say that one of my favorite characters of the whole film is Emil Blonsky, just because he knew what his objective was going to be, and he went for it. The whole movie. Whether you liked the guy or not, or you thought anything else of it, at least he was consistent, where some of these other characters didn't really know what they were doing.
Yeah, I agree.
At least that's how it felt.
Yeah.
So, alright. Let's see.
Final act.
Want me to read the...
No, I'll take it from here.
Okay, you got it.
So, Act 3... Oh, yeah, technically would have been you, but it's okay if I...
Go right ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
Act 3, okay, we got the Hulk versus the Abomination. It's the end of the movie, folks. With Blonsky now, the Abomination rampaging through Harlem, the military is unable to stop him. Banner makes the choice to embrace the Hulk as the only force capable of stopping the destruction. Leaping from a helicopter, he transforms and engages in a massive battle through the city after a brutal fight. Hulk ultimately defeats Abomination, but spares his life, showing a hint of control and humanity. In the aftermath, Banner disappears once again, continuing his journey of self-control while final scene featuring Tony Stark Robert Downey Jr., hints at a larger world beginning to form. Okay.
All right.
Oh, so as we got on here, we're going to discuss things here. I'll go ahead and start this off, I guess. Did the ending land? Why or why not? So, no, it did not land for me at all. I don't like that this movie pretty much ends at the beginning of the movie. We saw a whole movie to end with him back right where we started. In the same situation. So in other words, all this movie really was them finding him easily. Him re-engaging his relationship with Betty, which in turn she cheats and breaks another guy's heart. And then creating the abomination and just to let it live to go back into hiding, which kind of looks like he went back to the same place he was before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what the hell did we just watch, man? This movie went nowhere. There's no destination to this movie. This movie was a fever dream of his. I'd have been happier if he had woke up in the bed at the end and we realized this was all a dream. Well, that makes more sense than what we got. And yeah, this is not an earned ending. It just does not make a lot of sense to me. And I gotta tell you, this not killing the abomination, we'll get into it probably a little later on. But what else are you gonna do with this guy? They're not ready for the Hulk. They're not ready for the abomination. They're gonna choke him out, and they're just gonna hope he doesn't come back. It's not like he's just gonna put the handcuffs on. Okay, yep, you got me. No, what is going on here? There's a mess. This is a mess. I have a very hard time believing the end of this. I don't like that he just thinks, I'm just going to fall out of this helicopter and I know what's going to happen now. It's like, at what point in this story did we ever get an indication that he feels like he had the confidence that that's how the Hulk's going to manifest, other than he realized the Hulk's not going to let him die, right? That's all he knows. That's all he's going off of, is I'm going to fall from this helicopter and I'll turn into the Hulk because that part of me won't let me die. Well, do you know that for sure? You don't know that for sure. You know, later on, Mark Ruffalo's character tells them that he figured that out because he tried to shoot himself. And the Hulk spit the bullet back out. Like, he had to do something like that in order to understand it. Has our character ever discussed that? No, we just assume it just is. They went Hollywood. They went, let's have a good time. And then this is where the action, even for me, starts to fall apart. Where this battle through the city is just, it's so overdone. And it's like, I don't care for the abomination being able to speak. I don't care for this. It just turns different. It's all of a sudden this movie tries to take several steps forward. This would have been a great ending to like a third movie, maybe. Or I don't have a problem with this kind of happening in its own way. And I know that we don't want to kill the abomination because he's kind of ultimately the Hulk's, big bad, really, that you'd say in overall. It just didn't seem to set with me, right? The end just didn't set. The acting, the chemistry, none of it built up to me feeling like this was an emotional payoff. Truthfully, if I got to be honest, and I hate saying that, the climax, it's not earned. I don't feel like it's not earned. And my biggest issue is he should have killed that thing. And if you're not going to kill him, we need to understand why not. Like, I don't mind plot holes, but that's a real big one. That's like oh no, don't, because of mercy. Like, not that thing. That there's something that you need to do there. And that's something I'll give DC credit for, is they're willing to go there. And I think that needs to be something Marvel kind of has taken. There's moments in Marvel that are like, ooh, wow, they went there. But overall, with our heroes, nothing diminishes me if he popped the Abomination's head off and threw it across the city. I'd have been like, the Hulk's still cool. Yeah, go Hulk, you got him. Because what else are you going to do with that guy? Mm-hmm. At that moment, we don't know if that guy can even change back. It's, rip his head off, because if you don't, he's going to catch his breath and he's going to kill everybody there anyways. Like, because there's no stopping a thing like that. There's no stopping the Hulk. Just as the Abomination and Hulk are essentially the same thing, just in two different people, right? and it shows in a different way. So it's like, what are you talking about here? You know, it's like we don't know that he can turn back. As far as we know, that he was given too much of that stuff. That he's mutated into something that can't come back. Yeah, so that it really bugs me. It really does bug me big time. I because of the big skeptic fight at the end, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Because at least it stayed consistent with how crappy the movie has been getting as it goes. And I'm sorry, folks, to really be crapping on this movie. I'm trying my best, but this was a very tough one to get through without being very honest about what I'm watching. And it really is. I wondered why I like this. This was one of those movies that, at the end of it, I kind of wondered why we still gave crap to movies like the Fantastic Four and the Green Lantern, because this was worse, my opinion. But yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10. Go ahead, Sammy. I mean, I hope you got better things to say about it than I do, because that I really feel like I'm a big bummer right now about it.
Well, I mean, like I said, this is hard for me to fill out this questionnaire because I'm trying to view this as optimistically as possible, but
that's a big mistake.
At the same time, like, all right, so question of did the ending land for me? I looked at this movie when I was writing my answer for this question as more of a point of view of what I see they were trying to do with the character and showing that the Hulk is not the bad guy and the Abomination is the bad guy. And also, like you said, that the Abomination really is the main adversary to the Hulk, always, no matter what. He's like that staple character for the Hulk, that whenever you need someone to cause trouble for the Hulk, Abomination usually is there. So, I get that they didn't want to kill him. I like that they got to the point where he was about to kill him and then Betty stopped him. I do think that, for me, that was good. For me, that was good.
Yeah. Moments like that make me wonder why we see X-Men the same way. I understand. I get why you like it.
And I can see why they wouldn't put that in the movie that he killed Abomination, because at this time, you don't want kids running around with the Hulk fists, and then he killed the Abomination in the movie, and be like, what message are we sending to them for that? So, I don't know. Even for the X-Men, they won't kill their bad guys. It's just they either end up dying because of something worse, or they kill themselves, really, to a degree. But anyways, so yeah, I liked showing that. The only thing that I do like really about for the ending is that Hulk himself has shown that he can have some control himself. Which I think that was the common theme throughout this whole movie, is that Bruce is trying a hard time not turning into the Hulk, because when the Hulk turns into the Hulk, he's this rampage, doesn't care about anything else other than Betty. But it was because of Betty that he didn't do it. So I get you could have the argument that he still doesn't have control, but it kind of left us ambiguous at the very, very end of the movie when he gave this half smile that he was going to have another incident. Is he going to be a bad guy, or does it show that he has control? Which ultimately Marvel took that route in Avengers, that he ended up having control more so. But regardless, for this movie, I just liked that it showed that he can have a little more of a humanity to the Hulk himself. The Hulk isn't the bad guy as everyone, including himself, is treating him as. And so that's why I give it as that part of the landing. If that's the core overall theme of the movie, is cure him of this because he's bad. It turns out he's not that bad. That's why I thought it kind of landed for me in that aspect. But I do get why it didn't land for you on everything else, because, yeah. And we may disagree on killing Emil Blonsky, Abomination there, but my
only pushback is, and for the sake of it being a good discussion, is I don't think that the question of whether the Hulk's a good or a bad guy has ever been ever been presented. I don't think you have to. Everyone knows they're going into seeing how bad Blonsky is and how much of a jerk her dad is. I don't think that the question of whether he's good or bad, okay, proving it to everyone else, sure, but that doesn't mean anything anyways, because no matter what he did in that moment, Thaddeus Ross is still a jerk all the way up until when he's a jerk, to the last time we saw him. You know what I mean? Like, even in the piece of crap movie we got with the Captain America movie. I think that his humanity, the fact that he has some sort of humanity in him, they shown in the movie in that whole sequence where he's in the rain with Betty. And remember they're sitting there and they're all sweaty and he's all the Hulk and she's all like, ooh, it's like why he's not ripping her apart out of anger because he's an out of control monster is exactly the humanity that you're trying to show in a moment where she talks him into not killing something. I get it. We don't want to see our heroes killing people. And like you said, even in the X-Men, they don't kill. But they do. And our good guys don't. They're trying not to. But ultimately what the bad guys are doing is like they're in the position where they would. And First Class is a great example where he's telling Magneto, don't kill him because if you do, it's not going to bring your parents back. It's not going to make your life any better. But Magneto still kills him. And that guy, and ultimately you need to kill that guy. Magneto's not wrong in that situation. We just didn't want to see him do it out of the anger he did because we know Magneto's going to go bad, so it's okay. It works that way. But I'll like I said, I'll go back to DC. One of my favorite things in Batman Begins is, hey, you're gonna break your rule at the end with Ra's al Ghul. He tells him right out, you're gonna break your rule. He goes, I'm not gonna break it because I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you. Because that's the kind of guy you don't let live. Because he's gonna come back and finish what he did, and his daughter ultimately comes back to finish what he did anyway. So even with him dying, he still is dangerous. And I just don't see. Now, if, let's say, the Abomination turned back into Tim Roth's character, Blonsky, and then he went to smash him, and she said, don't kill him. I see more of that makes sense, because at least he's the guy now. We can figure out, let's get him in something before he turns again or whatever. But he's literally this giant thing that's trying to kill everybody. Almost killed the thing that you know you can't stop. Let him do it, man. Like, what are you talking about, Betty? Like, at what point do you feel safe with that thing laying there? It's like they're not ready for that. You're not telling me they got a pen. Well, don't worry, we got a cage for him ready to go. No, you don't.
Well, that's true.
No, you don't. Like, you think you do, but you don't. And that's what bothers me about it. Is it's so inconsistent in that sense. I don't think the issue of proving that the Hulk has a humanity side to him, even as he's the Hulk, is even in question, unfortunately. Which is why I feel like it's just so redundant. It come off as flaky, Disney safe-esque. Oh, we don't kill because our superheroes can't kill. Because if they do, they wouldn't be that no more. Well, I'm sorry, but you watch all the Batman movies. You're telling me none of those guys have ever died? Even the ones where he doesn't kill, there's some of that stuff that happens to those people. That guy's dead. There's times where you're like, that guy's dead. Like, and you're not supposed to kill him. It's very obvious in the Batman vs. Superman because he's not holding any punches. But there's people that died from Batman, and there are people that would argue that that's why they don't like him. I argue that's why I liked him because he was at a realization in his life, And I think these Marvel movies are smart enough to realize that we are at a point where these characters can die. We don't need to see our heroes be the ones that kill them outright. Sure, I understand you want to see Iron Man murdering somebody, but if you have a good reason why the person doesn't make it, we're okay with Vision destroying Ultron. He didn't let Ultron live because he felt bad for him. He blew him apart. But it's okay just because he's a machine. Arguably, Ultron was AI. Arguably, he was a thing as well. So I think that we can't be this picky and choosy. I mean, we got to a point where Thor cut off Thanos' head. Like straight up Viking style. And nobody blinked an eye. Nobody cared. In fact, we were like, that's awesome. So I understand this is earlier on. But that's the problem. It's like, take chances, man. Get there. And then they, I don't know. I got you. I hear you, though. But just for argument's sake, I just don't think that was a necessary thing to have to prove. You don't got to prove that he's got humanity in him. The fact he doesn't kill Betty is good enough.
That's true. Yeah. 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 Let's see.
Fun movie, guys.
It is. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And by the way, for anyone who's watching, it's okay when you disagree about something too, about stuff like that. As we're just talking this out to see, all right, this is my point of view, this is your point of view, and jump into the comments and let us know which point of view you agree with too.
Yeah, for
who
sure.
knows? We could have someone else who has an even completely different point of view than all this, or
because I understand both sides of it. We don't want to see our Hulk killing guys, and I do get they're pressing that theme home, and then if that's the case, then they did do a good job at it. Just for my taste, I just was kind of like, man, I don't know. Sometimes you just got.
I will say, if he did kill Abomination, it would have, to a degree. How do I say this properly? Because I don't want to say it wrong. Revitalized my interest in the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the problems with this movie throughout the whole thing is that I was having to watch it to make sure I kept my interest going with it. And so I'd grab at certain things that they were doing to say, oh, that's interesting, when in reality it was very mediocre at best. And so if they did something like that where he had killed the Abomination, I would have been a little more intrigued by, oh, where does it go from here type thing.
It would have felt to me like...
You were exactly right. At the end of this movie, it goes right back to... Hulk's on the run.
Yeah.
Ross still wants to capture him. Betty is now deprived of her love again for him.
Yep.
And
probably begging for the other guy's affection back.
Yeah. Selling, or whatever. He's selling, mainly.
Yeah.
It did. It landed, again, where we started the whole movie of. So it made me think... It does make you think, where... Was this important enough? What did this had to leave to? You know, like, I don't know. There are a lot of...
See, him killing Abomination at the end, to me, would have been like... Would have taken what you said as it's important that we see the humanity in the Hulk that we've been seeing through the whole movie that we already know. At the end, if he kills the Abomination, you could have made that scene have an emotional impact in the sense of him doing it, knows what that's going to make him look like to everybody else. But there's no choice. I have to do it. You know, Zack Snyder understood that when he did Man of Steel. When he had Superman have to kill Zod, or Zod was going to kill that family.
Mm-hmm.
That was it's going to make Superman look like someone that can kill, which is something Superman hates that it makes him look like. But what choice did he have, right? It was either let those people die or not, right? Mm-hmm. And we have this same argument comes back in Civil War between them. Like, Cap is like, yeah, there's going to be casualties to doing the right thing, but we still need to do the right thing. When Tony is like, no casualties are worth anything, no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. So, like, you almost are playing into the same theme that you got out of Iron Man. In my opinion, him killing the Abomination in an emotional sense of the news, you can even show the cameras are there, and she's looking, and they're looking, and he's looking at her, and she can even say, don't do it, and he just, like, well, look at this thing. What are you talking about? So he rips his head off and kills him, and then leave us with that whole, it's no different to me. It would have been the same. It would have been akin to as I Am Iron Man, and it going to credits. You'd be like, holy cow, look what he just did. Like, you just took, now we know you're a good guy, but you are capable of doing this, which makes you still very dangerous. You know?
I can see that. If it was...
It's more interesting than what we got, is all I'm saying.
It is. No, I agree. If it was done in that way, where that was the perceived view afterwards of that's the effect we wanted to have, like was the Superman and Zod. It's a great example of using that, because at the time when they did that was a huge risk, and Zack Snyder was like, who cares, I'm going to do it anyways and just see what happens.
It was awesome.
It turned out to be probably one of the best moments I've ever seen Superman do.
Yeah, so good.
It's the one thing he traditionally never would do, but he was put in a hard-pressed situation. Do I save these people, or by permanently stopping this guy, or not? And he did the right choice. I don't know if... I feel like there have been enough people hesitant enough to do that in this movie because it hadn't been done yet, that they would have been more worried about my perceived notion of that, of Hulk's now become the bad guy, instead of he's a good guy who's willing to do the unnecessary things. Nowadays, I feel like you could do that. You could get away with Hulk doing that. I don't know if back then you could have, so I see why they played it safe.
Yeah, I agree. It's. I mean, The Dark Knight had to make everybody realize you can do this, right?
Yeah.
Like when you end The Dark Knight with everybody perceive that Batman's the bad guy, and us as an audience know he's not.
Yeah.
Nolan was trusting that we're smart enough to understand what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And we were. I think they should have taken a chance. I think the audience would have got it. But the fact they didn't take the chance made us kind of get this movie that, once again, felt like we got nowhere, right?
It probably would have been the only thing in this movie the audience would have understood more so.
Yes.
Some of this other stuff,
I
to be honest.
I think they would single-handedly saved the movie, in my opinion. I would have been like, okay, the rest of this crap is okay.
That's a good hot take of the whole film.
Because ultimately, that's how I feel about Man of Steel as well. I'm not a big fan of that whole movie, but that ending's great. And I'm almost like, man, that ending's worth some of the stuff I don't like in this movie. And that's, and a lot of times, folks, with movies for me, I'm very forgiving. If you give me a good beginning and I care, and you give me a good ending, that middle part can go almost anywhere you want it to go, and I'll follow, as long as it doesn't get too wacky. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
So get into our
I would say
separate things here, or we have to rate that, don't we?
I have to rate it. Yeah, unfortunately. Was the climax earned? It really wasn't. I mean, I put on here, I think it was to a degree, but at the same point, the fact that we ended up where we started from in the beginning just showed to me. It does.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that in that perspective when we got done. And then as you pointed out, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You know what? That is right. I'm really thinking in my head, no, that can't be right. And I'm thinking, oh, where's she? Oh, where's he? Where's... Oh.
He's almost back at the same apartment.
What the heck?
Same dog outside, still sleeping. I'm telling you. He's still got to go beat up that guy that tried to corner that girl.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's why they could find him in Avengers, because he went right back to where he was.
Ironically, though, even though I had a different perspective of if the landing ended, I had the same grading that you did at 7 out of 10.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah.
That is funny. It's like,
I think we both appreciate the action no matter what's going on around it.
Yeah.
Something this movie did right was it looks good, and it looks like a lot.
And
it's fun to watch them beat each other up.
And speaking of look, the CGI really was pretty good for it. It
absolutely
did hold up to a degree.
Yep.
You could have said there were
moments.
some iffy moments, and they did take creative liberty on making the Abomination look the way they did, but they want him to look like a grotesque Abomination.
And he did.
He did.
Yep.
I like what they have now of him in the MCU than what we've seen recently, but it doesn't take away from this version of it.
Yeah, it's not so different that makes you think it's not the same.
Exactly.
You haven't seen it in so long, it doesn't really, little changes or it doesn't matter. And
and
he's aging, so
helps,
why not just add it in? Who cares? Because the Hulk, it looks a little different, even as we go on,
Yeah, exactly. All right, so post-credit scene. We have a section for post-credit scene, but in all honesty,
we kind of talked about it, yeah.
And this movie doesn't have a post-credit scene.
That's right.
This was all done. Even Samuel Stearns making the smile that his brain is morphing and becoming the leader. That's still within the movie in the third act. And Tony visiting Ross is literally the last scene before the credits cut. So there's no post-credit or mid-credit scene unless you want to count this as one. So, but let's touch upon that last scene then. Technically, Tony visiting Ross. What are your thoughts on it?
So I'm going to go right to the score. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10, only because there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing really that stands out either. I think it's okay. I think it's a good, safe follow up to the one we got in Iron Man, because it shows that he's on board with whatever Sam Jackson was trying to say.
Yeah.
Because he's now there on behalf, right, of talking about the Hulk and all that stuff. So, and really, there's not a lot that happens here. He just pretty much meets him up, and they have a little banter, and so I get here. You got a Hulk problem, and then boom, it just solidifies to us that they are doubling down. That we're gonna do this movie someday, guys. It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's it. So because of that, it's successful. There's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely not as exciting as the first one, because that was out of nowhere. But to see Tony Stark walk in made you go, ooh, cool. You know, it's like, so yeah, that's the perk that it had, was that. So, I give it 10 out of 10. It's good.
Well, I think one thing that's really cool about this, in retrospect of thinking when Iron Man 1 came out and when the Hulk came out, when they're both in production and all that stuff, they're taking a risk with Iron Man. We talked about that, and they thought they were doing a safe bet with the Hulk, but just in case it didn't land well, they put it 3 weeks released after that one. Which, by the way, I don't think that was done on purpose on Marvel's end, because you have to remember that Paramount was distributing Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Universal was doing the Hulk.
Right.
So 2 separate studios releasing their own movies. It makes sense. It's kind of like what we talk about nowadays when it comes to, why is Spider-Man going to come out before Doomsday? Why didn't they change that? That's not up to Disney to change that. Right. Sony said, we're taking July, man, and I don't care what the heck you do with the other one, we're still taking July.
Yeah.
So, like...
just how it works.
It's just, that's part of the deal. Anyways, so I did find that was interesting, that it's like, we're going to... In Marvel Studios' perspectives, it's like, okay, hopefully they do relatively well enough, because we're showing the audience, we're trying to connect something here. And within 3 weeks, you're going to see we're already starting to connect the dots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gave it a 10 out of 10 just like you. I thought that was a cool cameo of Robert Downey Jr. showing up and telling Thaddeus Ross, we're putting together a team. There really wasn't too much of a payoff, though, for that post-credit scene, other than you see the Avengers. Because for that post-credit scene, it's between Tony and Ross. You don't see Ross at all in Avengers. So I don't know what if maybe it's we're informing you that we're putting together a team, and by the way, the Hulk's going to be in it. It doesn't explicitly say that the Hulk's going to be in it. For all we know, it could have led to Abomination joining them. Not that it was gonna, obviously, but so as far as like a setup for the Avengers, cool, it did it. A payoff for the post-credit scene, there really wasn't a payoff.
Not really, yeah.
Because we don't see Thaddeus Ross mentioning that during Civil War, during any of the other times we do see him again. Which, if I remember right, and I might be wrong, I think Avengers Age of Ultron is when we officially saw William Hurt come back as Thaddeus Ross. I don't think we saw him in the other stuff.
You're right.
Before that. And during that, I don't think it was mentioned, any of that conversation. So... if you want to be nitpicky, there really wasn't a payoff, but it was just a heck of a cameo and a heck of a scene to show we're building something.
Yeah.
But I still would give it a 10 out of 10.
I think they played to it still a little bit because it was Tony Stark that came to see him. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, out of all of them in the Avengers going forward, Tony and Banner have a friendship. Mm-hmm. And Tony, for some reason in Avengers, is really obsessed with him as the Hulk. He's kind of like always like, poking, like, so what do you think about that green guy? You know, and he kind of is like, he kind of gets at him a little bit, and almost like he wants him to turn to see it. Like, he's kind of like fascinated by it. Yeah. So maybe it could be as easy as, in the post-credit scene of Iron Man, he goes, we're putting together a team, and he's like, well, like who? And maybe Sam Jackson tells him about the Hulk, and he's kind of like, I got to go find out what's going on here. And maybe it's him going to him on his own, but that's just speculation because it's not something they say. But to me, it's like, it just shows that his interest in Banner all along kind of fits, that it's him that goes, and it's not Samuel Jackson, because really, if you wanted to really throw the point home, it should have been Samuel Jackson walking up to Thaddeus Ross, not Iron Man. Yeah. Because really, when you think about it, later on, we find out that he doesn't really like having Iron Man as someone in charge of things. Yeah. He basically kicks him out of the program.
Then he's like, no way, you can't do that. But
yeah. So
I guess, well, in retrospect, when I'm thinking about Tony and Ross and any part of relationship they have throughout the MCU, I can see where the payoff would be considered Tony is familiar with Ross's mindset, because it was Ross who put forth the Sokovia Accords eventually that Tony signed on to, and they agreed on all things. Almost like Tony knows how to play with a figure like Ross, so that's why he would go to him and kind of befriend him in the beginning to say, we're building a team, and by the way, the guy you don't like, I want him part of this team. Yeah. And maybe Ross, again, this is all speculation because we're trying to read between the lines and make sense of it. Right. Maybe Ross is like, well, I did see him do some good in stopping a bad guy, so maybe it'll work for you, but I don't want him still. Well, we have no idea. But
Tony could be using him too.
Yeah, it could be.
Because even their relationship is fun in like Civil War. It's funny. You know, I love when Ross calls him in Civil War, and he's, "Oh yeah, please hold." He goes, "Don't you hang up on me." It's like you almost think that there's something there's like a connection between them already. You know, maybe it's because of the Iron Man suit and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just Tony's way of just, you know, I got someone on the inside that'll tell me things because that guy would rather have control of me.
Yeah, well, Tony Stark is applying weapons to the military. Ross is the example of the military.
That's right.
Or the representation,
I probably knew him already, truthfully.
Yeah, it's probably where they got their deals done type thing. Who knows?
Actually, in the movie, doesn't he just, when Tony shows up, isn't he kind of like, "Oh, Stark"?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So it's like he already knows who he is anyway.
Yeah, so, okay, I can see where that could be sort of the payoff type thing where they're just establishing the connectivity
their relationship.
Of these movies.
Yeah, which is a really weird, funny.
Yeah,
I kind of like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever your thoughts are on this, was it the payoff or not? Please comment down below. We're curious on what you guys think of that whole scene in general. But let's get into our deep dives real quick. All right. So, let's see. For you, best performance.
I'm with you. I think William Hurt as Thaddeus Ross is great. William Hurt's one of my favorite actors. He's done some really good stuff. If you guys have not seen Mr. Brooks, where he plays an alter ego to Kevin Costner, you need to go watch that. He is so good.
Oh, I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, he's a chameleon, man. Like, he doesn't come off it when you see him as this role, because it seems like something he only fits into, but when you go look at his filmography, you realize, wow, this guy knows his stuff. Mm-hmm. I also really like him in The Village. Mm-hmm. Really good in The Village as her father. Very great. And he's awesome in this. He brings the credibility this movie needs, because as good as Edward Norton is, this is not his best. Mm-hmm. And I honestly, you know, I don't ever foresee me in the future having a chance to interview Edward Norton, so I'll say it right here. I don't think he's as good as everybody makes him out to be. And I wish I could say differently. I think he's got roles that are real good. They're real fun. The best actor next to this is Tim Roth, and I just have an issue with his character. But I would say that's an honorable mention would be Tim Roth for sure. But yeah, no, I think William Hurt Thaddeus. You and I are on the same page with that one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, what's your most? For me, like you just said, William Hurt as Thaddeus Ross blew it out of the water for me. I think he's a good actor, and he shows his acting caliber in this movie on taking whatever script they give him and making the best out of it. And it turned out his part was actually pretty well written for what it was, you know. So it was good. I can't complain for the writing for him as I could for some other characters. So it was a great choice. I feel like, and this might just be me, but we're seeing a pattern in these early Marvel movies where you get some actors that maybe are lesser known or not as high caliber to help be part of the big part of of the movies, but then they're like, we're gonna splurge a little money on this guy because he's someone who we know will get butts in seats, or he's a higher caliber actor. Nowadays they have like the pick of all of Hollywood, whoever they want, and you'd be stupid to say no to working for Marvel at this point, because it's literally career makers. But this is still the time where superhero movies are getting on their feet a little more. They've had success with the early X-Men. Yeah, the early X-Men, the early Spider-Man and all that. But they're starting to become popular now. And this is where MCU really broadened the popularity. So I can see where William Hurt was kind of like their let's go big or go home with this guy type thing. Yeah,
for sure.
Anyways, all right, your most surprising performance. You're going to disagree with mine.
So does this have to be a good or a bad thing?
It could be, anything. Like, oh, that was surprisingly bad. Or, oh, you know what? I was shocked.
Because everyone, I was not surprised by anyone, which is a sad thing to say. Because William Hurt, he was the best, like, we did the best performance, but it wasn't his best performance either, you know? So it's not like he blew me away. I can't believe that they let... I'm going to put this in this category just for the hell of it. I can't believe they killed Stan Lee in one of his cameos. Out of all the cameos that he gets, he never dies, but this one he does, and I'm like, that's a weird one until they have him die. You know, like I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna put that in there only because I'm trying to be nice and I don't want to like just do nothing but talk crap about everybody in this. So they took a chance to kill Stan Lee, and that was kind of funny. You know, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I put for my most surprising performance for me, and mind you, I had not seen too much of this person's work, and it's funny that when we go down the next question, I got the same person for it. But I had only seen Liv Tyler in The Lord of the Rings before that, and I feel that her acting ability, her best work, is that soft-spoken mannerisms of, don't go. You know, that's it.
Oh,
and
my.
She has that perfect still...
I don't know how you do it.
And I don't say this in a bad way, but she has that perfect still doll face of, like, a deer in the headlights type thing. Maybe that's just her, or that's her acting ability, but that's the only thing that... I put her as surprising because there were some moments in the movie where... when she did start to get emotional, like as an angry type of emotion, I didn't expect her to be able to do that. So I'm giving her a compliment in this. So when she got angry, she could get angry, but it may not have lasted long. It might have been shortly fizzled out or things like that. But that was the only thing that I'm watching. So I'm like, oh, that surprised me. She's got a little spark in her. So, anyways.
So next, I'll save my comments for the next one. So the weakest performance, if any, Liv Tyler. For all the opposite of what he just said. So okay, you do not have a lot of experience seeing her anyway. And the truth is because she's not in a lot. So the stuff she's in, I would say she is just not good, guys. I'm sorry, but and I feel bad for saying it. I think her best roles are the smaller the better. She's in the best trilogy of all time, which is Lord of the Rings. And that's, to me, her best performance. And she's in 10 minutes of a 9-hour epic. So that tells you a lot already. So I would argue that her role in this movie is the exact same person that's in Armageddon. The exact same person.
She's in that movie, too.
Yep, just a deer in headlights, don't know what I'm doing. Say your lines.
That's her specialty.
Be pretty.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well,
that's what they wanted.
If that's
for
what
Betty.
they want, then they nailed it. Because she's awful in this movie. Like, I don't care for it. I don't care for her. I don't buy it. There are a ton of people that should be in that spot. Yeah, I don't know, guys. It is a preference thing. Everyone's gonna like who they like. They speak to who they speak to. I'm sure there's Liv Tyler fans out there that would swear up and down she's the favorite actress, and I get it because I don't like Angelina Jolie, and you're gonna find out later that him and I are very different on that as well. But it's got nothing to do. I'm not saying she's an awful actress. She's definitely a better actor than me. You know, I do think that she's a nepo baby, and I think that she. I think that she suits the role for the movie she's in. Truthfully, though, I do think she's better in elevated roles. Like, if the movie's better, I think she does better. Like, she's great in Lord of the Rings, and she doesn't have a lot to do, but the part she does well, she does very well. Mm-hmm. But I think they also played to her strengths. You know. I'll throw this out there. He's my favorite person in the world. Arnold Schwarzenegger's not a good actor either, guys. He's way better than he was, and I think he is a good actor, but he's not that good. He's not, Daniel Day-Lewis good, and just like she's not Cate Blanchett good, mm-hmm. right? I think that's where I'm coming from with it. Where that's how I feel about her. I don't believe her. The chemistry between them, I think, was her personally was on her end. That's where I stand with it. It's okay, but I just think that you're the same. You take her out of Armageddon and put her. I would love to do a supercut of her scenes in Armageddon and just kind of put them in with this one, and I don't think the movie would change. Other than maybe a little more romantic.
I gotta see this movie now. But yeah, I did put my most surprising performance. Was her. I also put the weakest performance was her, just because. And it's the same. Honestly, it's the same thing that you said. Like, it was surprising to me that as I'm watching, I'm like, oh wow, she does have something in there. but then it's so short-lived, and I'm like, oh, it's back to what I expected. And I don't mean that in a bad way, Liv, but like, let's get you a better movie, and see if, like you said, if she's in a better movie, maybe she'll have a better, more prestige type, ability. I don't know, but yeah, I did put her down as my weakest performance. I also I believe that was kind of on purpose because, like you said, there are certain things that they play to her strengths with the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That you feel, and I feel like this is what they wanted for Betty. They wanted her to be this doughy-eyed person that maybe without Bruce there, she'd be a little bit more of a genius or a little bit more of a this, or because she's a doctor or she's supposed to be a doctor of something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, because we don't believe it. That's why you don't know what it is. Because
exactly.
She's a doctor of what?
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss, maybe. I mean, it's the best we can do.
But, yeah, she is, unfortunately, of the whole cast there, she definitely is the weakest performance. All right.
I understand.
What, your casting wins or misses?
So this I'm going to save for my hot take.
Okay. All right. Okay. The only thing I'll mention on it was I put on here all wins in my book because it's just what I expected, to be honest. But Edward Norton is the only one I definitely would have made the change to because I just don't believe him as Bruce Banner.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Bruce Banner / he probably does better as the Hulk, but again, I don't know how much of that was the motion capturing or stunt people because I don't know what he does. I know behind the scenes of what Mark Ruffalo does for it, and they really try to make it where it is Mark Ruffalo with the more motion capture outfits and everything. I don't remember them saying that much about that for the Incredible Hulk. Maybe he did do stuff for his facial features.
I know they did for the face.
Yeah,
but not like the whole body.
The actual acting of him, yeah. I can't look at him and say, oh, I can see Edward Norton in it. Whereas when you see Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, you can see even how he walks.
Yeah,
it's exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Who would you put in there, if not him or Ruffalo?
Oh, if not him or Ruffalo?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
If you could do a Hulk casting right now.
That's a hard one to think about.
It's a hard one, yeah. We'll have to revisit this, folks.
Yeah, because...
That could be a fun episode sometime in the future of recasting the MCU.
My first thought was like, it's Richard Madden. But okay. I think he looks too good looking for Bruce Banner.
I agree.
You need someone. It's one of the problems they have with Spider-Man is that Andrew Garfield was great as mannerisms as Peter Parker.
He's just gorgeous.
He just looked too good though to be the Peter Parker that we know of him.
Didn't come off as a nerd.
Yeah.
At all. He come off as, why are you not famous? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You're way too pretty to be treated like that.
Yeah, no offense, Tobey Maguire, but you did look like a Peter Parker.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he knows that. That's why he loves it. Yeah.
So anyway,
they even pick on it in the movies. Yeah. You gonna go as a youth pastor, or what are you gonna do? I love it.
Perfect.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah. So I don't know who I would pick for. If I couldn't pick Mark Ruffalo, which I just after seeing it, I think he is.
Well, we can come back to it sometime, but food for thought, folks. We'll do an episode of recasting the MCU. We will someday. They'll go on the list. That'd be a fun one. We have to recast it with people that haven't done it before. That'd be a good time. Yeah,
because I have thought about that for some other Avengers, and I already know exactly for my Black Widow who I would have picked. Those different Scarlett Johansson, but we'll get to her when we get to.
Ooh, I don't even know that guy, so we'll find that out.
Yeah, we'll get to next week's episode. All right. I added a category to here called wasted potential.
Yeah,
that could be any casting. It's under this casting, but it's basically under deep dives. Do you have any wasted potential you thought about the whole movie, whether it's a person, a story, a character?
Yeah. So mine's a weird one, and it's I don't know if you noticed this in the movie. Actually, I did after my second rewatch, which was very hard. Took me 2 days to watch it the second time.
Oh, I hear you.
So I think a wasted potential to tie into the MCU later, they could have done it in this movie that they already had done, was when Edward Norton, or when Bruce Banner gives Lou Ferrigno the pizza to get into the lab, and he's in the lab, and it shows the other lab guy with the pizza. That guy, that actor, is the same actor that plays one of Peter Parker's teachers. And
Oh, that's right.
so I think it'd have been a fun, it definitely is a wasted potential on that, where there could have been a moment between them where he mentions working for a lab before. He could have been a science teacher in the Spider-Man movies. And that just would have been a neat little tie-in as a fun, oh, look, see, it is connected. That's all. Because I agree with yours. I'll let you go with it. Yours is a better one, but I thought that one would be a real fun one to mention. That it's the same actor. I can't think of the man's name. I apologize. Anyone who knows, go ahead and comment for us, please. But yeah, I think that would have been a fun could have been a little joke in Spider-Man movie. That he had something to do with the Hulk. Especially now that we got the Hulk and Spider-Man coming up here soon.
Yeah. Well,
that'd be the perfect time for him to walk in and say, oh, hey, Bruce. You know what I mean? Like maybe they'll still do it.
Do you still deliver pizzas?
Yeah, maybe they'll still do it. Maybe he'll walk in and they'll say hi to each other. That'd be cool. So maybe the potential's not wasted yet, guys. We haven't got to the movie yet. Maybe they know this. They must know this. The guy's right there. You get him. He flops a pizza around for like 10 minutes. It's a long look at me scene. Like it's pretty long for an extra. To be honest with you, there's no words, just the pizza, and you hear the pizza. It's a weird. They got the microphone right up next to it, so you hear the flop. But thanks for that Hulk movie. So there you go, bud.
Well, so I like this question personally because we run into this all the time, especially with these type of movies where we're watching it and we're like, oh, they could have done something different with either that plot or that character, or oh, it's right there in black and white where you can see like on your face what they're gonna do, then they don't do it, and you're like, oh, what the heck was that about? So for me, and this I can see where maybe you didn't get this at first because this is like the comic booky part of things.
Yeah.
So Liv Tyler's boyfriend that she throws off to the side.
The poor guy. When
Bruce comes along again. His character in the movie, is Doc Samson. Now, Doc Samson is big in Hulk lore. And he eventually gets juiced up with gamma radiation himself and becomes part of the Hulk team or Hulk people, whatever you want to call them.
Oh, interesting. See, I didn't know that.
And they treated him as just a love interest of Betty. Like she has a type. She only wants to gamma infuse people, I guess. And I don't even think he knows it.
Hey, Betty's a problem here.
She's feeding him gamma pills at night.
Yeah.
Like, oh!
I want my Brucey back.
That would have made the movie a little more interesting. Like, oh, Betty's a villain. Yeah. Anyways. But I'm actually shocked that now they're starting to bring some of these Hulk characters back to a degree in different fashions, whether it's a cameo appearance here, the villain in someone else's movie here, things like that. That they haven't brought this character back, because that's still a big known actor, from my understanding. Ty, I got his last name misspelled here, but
he's bigger now. Ty. At the time, I don't think so. Yeah. At the time, I don't think he was big, but he's definitely now he's been in some TV shows that are. I think Community is one of them. Maybe, I'm not sure. I haven't watched them personally.
Yeah, but I recognize his face.
Yeah, I know he's in some movies that he's real big in, for sure.
Yeah, so I just put him down as a wasted potential as how they treated the character, just being the new yet discarded love interest of Betty in this movie, where the character himself, I would rather have had him named something else, like a character just made for the movie, because I would have been like, okay, we wouldn't have to worry so much about it. But for him being named this in the movie, in the credits, and even being acknowledged in that, but yet there's no tie into the comics, I just felt that was a little bit of a waste of potential. If you're going to put him in there as Betty's love interest, throw the audience a little Easter egg or a little bone of saying, oh, he's actually important in Hulk's history. So make him part of the things that's happening. Not that as soon as as she leaves with the Hulk, she's unconscious, and he looks at the father and says, well, screw you type thing. Like, poor guy is still sitting in the rain, for all we know.
Yeah.
In that house, like.
Yeah, just like, you're just sitting there going, what the heck just happened?
You're like, oh, well, I lost my girlfriend.
Yeah.
But
the love of his life.
But yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, so poor representation of that character if that's what they were intending to do. So that was my waste of potential.
I like that. That's a good. And I will definitely think a little deeper than for the next one going forward. I just thought that was a very funny. Like I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting that guy's in there. I didn't realize that till I saw his face. I'm like, that guy looks real familiar.
Yeah.
And then I had to go confirm it on some videos and other stuff to make sure I wasn't out of my mind.
Yeah, because as soon as he popped up, I'm like, oh, who is that? So I looked at the cast and I saw his name and it says Doc Samson. And I thought, why does that sound familiar? And then me just doing a simple Google search, Marvel, you could have done that to figure out who this character really was. It pulled up comic images, everything, and I watched the whole origin on him. I'm like,
interesting.
so this is an actual character.
Yeah.
But they treat him as like a castaway, like
Yeah.
he's just there for. Honestly, she could have been single, and it wouldn't have changed any of the movie. It would have been better for her.
Well, it made her look a little better, yeah.
Anyways,
sure.
So yeah,
it's funny because your waste of potential kind of fits like with what I would consider the waste of potential from Iron Man would have been to have Obadiah Stane be linked in with Hydra later. So then it'd have been cooler that not only did was Obadiah not really that good of a guy, but he also is even behind your parents being killed. So it's just even another layer on top of why Tony's the way he is. I think that would have been that would have been very. It at least explained why he was even more scarier to the terrorists than the terrorists.
Yeah,
because he would have been one then.
That's more like a blink and you miss it type thing.
Yeah,
right there, and we
but it would have been neat
it unless we did our deep dive.
Yeah, and it'd been like, that'd have been cool because it had been like just really would have reestablished why he was so bad so quick because he really never was good, Yeah. And Tony ended up not being the son he wanted him to be, and so on and so forth. But we're all done with that.
All right, director style. What'd you think?
So yeah, I think the director did a good job. He hasn't done too many things after that made me feel that he's someone I would hire all the time. I think Clash of Titans was a very good remake of that movie. But yeah, I think he was a safe bet for the movie we got. I'm not surprised. Mm-hmm. Do I think he's I don't know the guy. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you anything else he's in. I had to look them up. So
yeah.
So unfortunately, it was unforgettable. It was very forgettable, I should say. Yeah.
I just put good. I think it was an upgrade from the 2003 Hulk, but that is to be expected as technology just continues to evolve. Of course, it would be different. The thing about the 2003 Hulk and directing style and vision and how they portrayed it is they made the 2003 Hulk mimic a comic book and the panels whenever they did scene transitions, to the point where at sometimes it felt a little nauseating when you're watching it, like it's being warped around. You're trying to focus on that little panel and what it's doing, and that there's another one all at the same time. So I'm glad that they didn't do that in this. What I did like about this is that they had the little countdown every once in a while of how many days since an incident. I thought that was cool and would be perfect for a solo Hulk adventure, because it would be interesting to know, he's been 365 days. 32 days. Now 0. Stuff like that. I thought that was cool. Other than that, directing style and vision, no complaints. That for that part was good. All right, cinematography, the
same
visuals.
Thing. I feel the same way. Nothing unique here, truthfully. Very cookie cutter, safe. The guy didn't know what they're doing. Nothing was wrong with it. There was nothing really outstanding about it either, though.
Yeah, it didn't really have like an artistic vision. Like when you watch a Sam Raimi movie, you're expecting artistic vision, and even the trailer to Brand New Day, you could tell that Dustin Daniel Cretton has an artistic vision when it comes to that.
That's where That's why I even say, like, compared to the 2003 Hulk, at least they took a swing. Mm-hmm. And it may have not worked. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily agree that it didn't for that movie. I would say it's jarring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it gives the movie a different feel. Mm-hmm. But I might be okay with it for that movie. For that, we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, that's definitely nothing to stick. That sticks out. Like you said, even the trailer of the Spider-Man shows that there's more behind the scenes there than this ad.
Yeah. All right. How about cinematography and the visual effects? That kind of goes.
Yeah. Well, same. Once again, the visual effects it's good.
Yeah.
It's to par with Iron Man, which it needs to be.
Yeah.
Really is all it has to do. It can't look worse than Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was good too. I only questioned like the Hulk's physique a little bit when I was watching it, and I'm not trying to compare him to the other Hulks, but I'm just trying to compare what like human anatomy, what that would kind of look like. And as you could tell when you look at the Hulk, especially like around his chest area, he is very veiny. And I don't even know there are that many veins like that would protrude out the way they are. So that was, but obviously as times went on, they improved some of that stuff and all that. So it was okay for this movie.
By the time you get to Avengers, they got it figured out, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got the right kind of green, too.
Yeah.
This Hulk is like a dark green. He's like a tree that comes to life. And then the 2003 Hulk is like a crayon.
Yeah, he's like neon.
Whoa, yeah. Which is, it's neat, but it's like, jeez.
It's like the mac and cheese you made.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
but like when you get to Avengers, it's like a little mix. It's just right.
More natural.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. Of a green person. Yeah. Action quality.
Yeah, this is what this movie's got going for it.
Yep.
The action's great.
Yep, I agree.
That's the only times. That's what made it worth getting to it and bearable was watching the action in it. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. CGI quality. I think we just touched upon.
Yeah, we just touched on that.
It still stands up to a degree. Maybe Abomination was the weakest in the quality, but he still wasn't the worst I've ever seen of CGI. So,
Agreed.
Yeah. Music, for me, there's no remarks. Is there music in this movie?
There's one moment where you hear the old TV show theme song play, and I thought that was kind of nice. Yeah. It was after after their chase thing, and he's running away. Mm-hmm. He's kind of sitting there like a poor wet dog under a tree, and the piano plays, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool little nod to the old show. Other than that, the music, I can't remember what it was at all.
Me either. Yeah.
It's like I don't remember a bit of it, to be honest with you.
So, in other words, it's good. We didn't have to think about it. Anyways.
Something going forward I have in the issue with the MCU is a lot of them have music I don't. Other than the Avengers theme and some of the stuff from like the actual Avengers movies. There's not a lot of good theme songs in the MCU. Not like we did with... you want to talk theme songs. X-Men.
That just stirs stuff inside you when you hear that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my. Anyways, all right. Yeah. So, this section is called Hot Takes, and I have been dying to hear Ike, so I want him to go first. Okay. What is your hot take of this movie?
So, my hot take of this movie, it's going to be in two parts. The first part is, I'm going to tell you what I think this movie should have been if I was writing it. What this movie should have been, it should have been a good first half hour of the movie to 40 minutes. Should have been an origin story of their love story, him being a scientist, what his place in the world is for real. I would actually have liked it if they were engaged and Thaddeus Ross and Bruce Banner actually were friends and they were okay with the fact that he was marrying his daughter because he's just a scientist and he's working on these things and blah, blah, blah. Then the accident happens, and he becomes the Hulk. And the true side of Thaddeus, the idea of seeing this thing that could possibly be a weapon, comes out. I don't care for... I would like to have it where it wouldn't have been a personal thing between him and Bruce. More of, I gotta have what this is, because that's Thaddeus' whole point, is he's trying to make a super soldier. And I would have even gone as far as the Tim Roth's character being friendly and a nice guy, like maybe a friend of Thaddeus is in the military. And the serum that they give him in order to try to capture the Hulk, kind of like what the movie did, is the thing that makes him go bad and not so much him being power hungry. I would have liked that. The stakes would have been higher. The idea that you see this group of people that's becoming a family get tore apart by this accident, and you feel bad because clearly the accident isn't something that should be used like Thaddeus wants to use it. And then you could have had the exact same movie and skipped over this him in hiding in the first place, and you would have ended the movie with him in hiding. Instead of starting the movie with him in hiding and ending it with him in hiding, you would have started a movie with a complete true origin of really establishing who they are and what it means to each other. So later, those moments of almost hurting each other, almost killing each other, or bad things happening, you felt that deeply because, 45 minutes ago, you saw them all sitting at a picnic, having a great time. I think this movie needed that, and I think that they should have taken a chance and done that, and they should have visually made that more appealing and fun. and taking more chances on that end of it, personally. But my biggest hot take is the 2003 Hulk movie is way better than this movie. Way better than this movie. And if I were Marvel, I would have never made this movie. This wouldn't have been number 2. I'd have done all the movies except for this one. And then when you get to Avengers, when you go meet Bruce Banner, it should have been Eric Bana sitting there on the floor. And they should have used, not only was this movie better than this one, the Hulk movie in 2003 better, but they should have used that movie as a jumping off point for the MCU. And then kept Jennifer Connelly as Betty as well. And I'm going to say this right now. I would have rather them do that and keep Sam Elliott as Thaddeus Ross and then keep William Hurt. And it's got nothing to say bad about William Hurt, but if it means continuity, Sam Elliott's just as good. Written better, for sure, in that original. That would have been the first time that we, as an audience, would have been like, oh, that's cool. They took a movie that wasn't good, and they made it better because we could just not think about it and just throw it in here. Now, yeah, that means Mark Ruffalo's not the Hulk going forward in my world. But as a hot take, that'd have been the dice I would have rolled back then. Would I have been wrong? I don't know. I think Eric Bana's a great actor. I think we could have got a lot of good stuff out of him, just like we have Ruffalo. I'm not saying that Ruffalo shouldn't have had the role. I'm just saying that if I was Feige in that position, that'd have been my decision, and that's what the MCU would have looked like from my point of view. Which I'm sure a lot of people would be like, hell no. But I don't know. Go watch that first Hulk again, that 2003 Hulk. It's not that bad. There's moments. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's perfect. We can pick it apart when we're going to eventually. We're going to get to it. The whole dogs and all that. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That part
ridiculous, right?
Yep.
But the hidden in his dad, it's a much deeper. Everything that they said they were worried about in the beginning of that movie is everything this movie needed. The darker, more psychological, more action, this movie lacked. You know what I mean? It needed more action. It needed to be more darker. It needed to be more psychological. And it would have been a better movie. So all the stuff they were worried about in pre-production is the stuff this movie needed. Which is also kind of what makes me, let's see the Norton cut. What are we lacking? Maybe his ideas is what we were lacking. You know? I don't know. It's hard to say. That we have no idea what that looked like. I don't know what was cut out. I'd love to find a behind-the-scenes thing of him detailing, well, this is what I had that they cut out. Because we saw what they did with what studios have done with other movies. Like, another good example, Suicide Squad. I mean, it's a whole different movie with Jared Leto as the Joker. Another big hot take. Guys, we'll talk about it someday. We'll get the DCU stuff. I still think that Jared Leto Joker has potential, and everyone doesn't like it. But all you have is what you saw in the trailers. You don't have what you actually could have seen. His whole role was nothing but a giant trailer because they cut him out so much. And I wonder if that's what happened to this movie, really. Because everything that they say was lacking, the other one had already. And the special effects weren't as good. But you're also talking how many years earlier?
2003 to 2008, yeah.
But there's some awesome scenes in that first movie, man. When he's tearing those tanks apart in the desert, he jumps higher. He gets bigger as he gets angrier. Jennifer Connelly's way more believable as a love interest between the two of them. I love the scene when he's looking in the mirror in the bathroom and he smears the thing and he's having a dream and he sees the Hulk face. Or just him turning into the Hulk for the first time, walking down the corridor. It's desperate. There's a desperate there of, this is bad. Whatever's happening is not good, and it was darker. And when he was changing, you felt it. Yeah, no, I think there was a big mistake. Truthfully, that's my hot take. Is not only is the 2003 Hulk better than this movie, but it should have been the movie they used for the Avengers. Hot take. I'm sure. Definitely got not a lot of people that agree with it.
Who knows? It's definitely going to make me chew on that for a little bit and be like, what would that look like? You know? My hot take is something, I think you've already mentioned it before. It's just that this movie is non-consequential. And therefore, it's not needed.
Yeah.
I feel like they did it just to do it. Type thing.
If we just pretend this movie never happened and we got to the Avengers, it just wouldn't. It wouldn't have made a difference at all.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's sad, right?
It It is sad because they poured a lot of time and money and thought into doing this movie, but it just didn't pan out. And they were so afraid of not repeating what the other movie did, whether it was good or bad, that they end up making decisions that made this movie, to a degree, a little bit worse. And it's almost like, how do you... If Hulk was like Spider-Man in that... he still had a lot of potential. I think you would have seen Universal kept the Hulk rights and do something with him all the time. Do what they did with Sony and Spider-Man. That they're never gonna let those rights relapse because they know it's profitability. Universal, I'm actually shocked they just didn't decide to just cut ties with it, because I don't think they're getting any money from any of Mark Ruffalo stuff, because that's all Disney and.
Yeah, we might have to...
They don't distribute any of it. The only reason is because it's not a Hulk-centric movie. Yeah. So then they don't have any rights to it. So it's almost like, just let them go. They definitely
didn't negotiate the same deal that they have with the Spider-Man stuff.
No, exactly. And it makes me wonder if the rights issue wasn't an issue and they decided to go with the change of Mark Ruffalo, would we have gotten a sequel to The Incredible Hulk within the second or third phase? Because Mark Ruffalo did show he was popular in the Avengers movie, and to try to see his version of a solo movie, then it makes you wonder how would they have done a solo version of it. Would have been good as compared to him being part of other people's movies and just continuing his story that way. Mm-hmm. So it's... I don't know. Those are all big questions that I know that Mark Ruffalo has said, even to this day, if there was a way to do it, they would be doing it right now because he wanted a solo movie. But and there are speculations out there that they do have the full rights back, but there's no desire to do one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll find out if something shakes down in the next couple of years or not. I'm not expecting Incredible Hulk 2 to come in 2029 onward with these new release dates that are out there,
Oh, I don't expect that at all either.
Yeah.
They've already made their Incredible Hulk 2 in a Captain America movie, so it's kind of the way they do
Thor
this.
Movie. Yeah.
Or no, with Thor, I guess, but the most direct sequel to this is...
that one. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
It's a Hulk movie, right? Like
that's bad.
It's a Hulk movie featuring the fake Captain America. We'll get there, folks.
Yeah, we will.
And which I think most people agree, to be honest, about that.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. What's the next movie after this?
Iron Man 2 is the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the best place for this movie to be then, right? Because do you think... if it was before Iron Man, would the MCU be what it is today?
No.
Do you think if it was the third one in, would it be what it is today?
I want to say yes, because at that point they've already had 2 successful movies under their belt that they had a little stumble still in the beginning, whether this was number 2 or number 3. If this was after the first Avengers... I don't know, because they already dropped the football with the Mandarin. That if this was like right after Iron Man 3...
but that was still a good movie.
It was a good movie, but there was enough of it.
There's a thing in it that's bad,
yeah,
but it's a good movie around it. This is a different story, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think because it's sandwiched between... Iron Man 2 was going to make the money, no matter what, because Iron Man 1's awesome. Mm-hmm. And whatever people say about Iron Man 2, we're gonna have a good. That's gonna be a fun one too, because I personally like that one a lot.
It was a good movie, yeah.
I think that this movie was the one mistake Marvel made in their first 20 years, that they just kind of, let's just pretend we didn't make that movie. Let's not even talk about it. Let's not even think about it. Yeah. And I think that's probably some of the reason why Captain America sucked, because it reminded us of, wait a minute, oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's why it sucks.
Well, at least there's consistency there. There's something sucked there, and we're just revamping the suckiness into another sucky movie.
Yeah, but we don't need another Transformers franchise, so.
There's a hot take right there, because I actually enjoyed that franchise. Now I finally watched it. Anyways, all right. Where are we at?
Oh yes.
Well, let's wrap this guy up, because I think we're already going on.
We're on our first episode. Fun questions here.
All right, here we go. Let's do this, then we get to our final multiverse score. All right, quick fire Answer fast, don't overthink. Best scene in the movie for you?
Best scene in the movie for me is when he does that cool freaking flip after the Hulk hits him into the tree during that fight. And then he's yeah, it's so awesome. Their little fight there, right there, of him holding the doors and all that, awesome. Yep. Him and Blonsky, them fighting while he's still a human, is my favorite stuff.
Yep. That's good. Yep. Mine is stupid, so I'm not even going to mention it.
You gotta say it now.
I wrote on here Betty stopping the Hulk from killing the Abomination.
I know
just
why
because
you like
the humanity thing. All right, least best scene, your worst scene.
Betty stopping him from killing the Abomination at the end of the movie.
I didn't even write anything for there because there was a lot of bad scenes. I couldn't pinpoint one. But anyways, best villain moment.
I like the conversation him and Thaddeus have when he talks him into letting him do the super soldier serum before they go find him at the college. There's a moment where they're talking and he says, "No, remember, there's a lot of this and that." And there's a neat the way he is there. He's very manipulative to him. If I'm going to jump into, I don't care that he's a bad guy from the start, but if that's what we're going to get, then I do like that he's a bad guy that knows when to be nice to get what he wants. And then I thought he did awesome because I consider him really the villain of the movie. You know, obviously.
Who's
Ross?
Yeah.
Blonsky.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was going to say for my best villain moment is when he made Samuel Stearns turn him into the Abomination.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was pure, I just want whatever the Hulk has, it doesn't matter. I want to supercharge the super soldier serum that I got right now, and he made him do it, yeah. So that's true villainy right there. All right, most punchable face. So
I got two. One's Betty Ross. Just punch her right in the face. She's cheating. She just whines all the time. You know, she don't kill blah, blah, blah. Okay, but the real one though, I think we're the same. So I'm just gonna say it. That guy at that factory that cornered that girl, punch that guy right in the face.
I immediately thought there's that sleazy factory
Holy
worker.
cow.
Just, no.
Not just a character, but just look at his face. He just wanted. I just want to punch that guy.
Yes, that should have been a Hulk punch. Like his fist should have just become
just
green.
A green fist.
Yeah.
Just boom.
Yeah.
And like, I can do that. It just parts of me. I thought that's kind of cool. Yeah.
All right. One prop you take home.
So I got a funny one. I would like to get a bottle of the soda.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
I just thought about that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't care for that in the movie, but I think that'd be a cool prop from the movie.
That would be a great prop. Yeah, I put the flash drive on the lanyard.
Oop, that's good too. I like that too.
Until I found out that he ate it and pooped it out. Then I was like, I'm not sure.
I was just gonna say, is it pre-pooped? Or
I would write the pre-poop version, the pre-ingestion version.
Because one's just hanging, the other one's like in a baggie.
Yeah. I want the lanyard version one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think those would look good on the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. All right. Most underrated moment and most overrated moment, if you have one.
Oh, most underrated moment. See, this is a tough movie to do. Overrated moments, the entire film. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's awful. But the underrated, I would still. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think it's underrated though. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go blank on these. Mm-hmm. Only because it's not a good film to do it for.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Because it's tough because it's none of it's. In order to be overrated, it's got to be a great moment that no one talks about, and we talk about all the great moments in this. And for it to be overrated, it's got to be a moment that's or vice versa, basically. And neither of them work because anything that's not good, we are very open about it not being good. So, so I'm just that's going to be a couple skips for me, unfortunately, for this one. It wasn't that even a good enough movie for me to, to put those in for fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna skip the underrated and overrated thing because it's. I feel the same way for you. I couldn't even think of something to put down in my pre-notes. So, funniest moment for you. I had two, but only one of them I would say is my most funny moment. But anyways, what are yours? If you had any moments.
Mine is one of yours.
Because there's very little comedy in this whole movie at all.
Yeah.
So.
But mine is one of yours, and that's the comparing the pant sizes.
Yeah, I thought that's
funny. Because he's trying to figure out what to wear, and it's funny.
Yeah,
because that's definitely something we wonder. It's like how does he keep his shorts on and stuff? It's like So at least the spandex makes sense. And
he picked them up, and he looked at the woman behind him who has a very big booty, and he put it up to her and be like, "Will it fit that? Then it'll fit me." Yeah. That's just funny.
He's anticipating changing again too.
Exactly.
On top of that, it was kind of a neat little tidbit.
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't want to be naked when he does it.
Right.
Totally get it. So I did put that as one of them, but the only one that I would say that I actually laughed out loud with was the cab scene where Betty is telling Bruce to remain calm. We're gonna get there. Then the cab driver acts like a cab driver, going berserk on the road to the point where he's staying calm and she's not. And the gal, it's the only time, one of the only times I hear Liv Tyler actually yell as they get out. She says, "Are you out of your mind?" And she shuts the door. I'm like, okay, I actually laughed at that one because I thought, there you go, someone who's supposed to be the calmest one and acts the calmest one mostly because of her demeanor, all of a sudden is the one who's yelling.
Yeah.
So I laughed at that one. So because I laughed, it's my funniest moment. Most emotional moment for you.
So this is another tough one because I think this is where this movie fails. There's a lot of lack of emotion that makes sense. I will say there's a couple scenes between Betty and her father that are heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And it's as close as it gets to me caring. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't pinpoint specifically which ones. But
yeah.
Any of those they're never really that good between the two of them. And you're kind of like, oh, that's sad. Mm-hmm. Because it's, it's over this whole thing. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. The only emotional moment I would say is, it's just on a character perspective, is Bruce is longing for a normal and simpler life with Betty. Because that is pretty evident throughout most of this movie. He wants to get rid of the Hulk so he could go back to the life that he had before.
Yeah.
And so that's the only emotional... That's more of an emotional perspective. That's not an actual scene or thing that happened that you can see in the movie. Because, like you said, they lacked a lot of that stuff.
A lot of
that depth in it.
There wasn't much you really understood what they all stood for. Or, what was their... Yeah, it was tough to follow that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so... multiversal meter final score. All right, the story out of 2, what would you give it?
It's got a 1.
I even put
at least the Hulk's in the movie.
I put mine as 0, just for the story part. I think I originally wrote 2, but I changed it to 0. Because the story really wasn't that good. Characters for you. I'm keeping mine at 2 out of 2, but.
I'm going 0.5. Yeah, because this is where our problem is they're all just boring. Except for 1 or 2. And I don't think that it holds up enough for that. So 0.5.
Okay. Action and visuals.
I'm going to give that a solid 3.
Oh, out of 2?
Yep, I like the action, and like we've said, visually, there's some real stunning shots that if you just took a shot of it, could almost be a poster. Mm-hmm. So I'll give it its props there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Emotion and stakes. That's
a 0.5 if there isn't. I would go 0, but there's at least somebody talking about something in the movie, so I can't say 0. So someone's concerned about something in the movie, I got to give it a 0.5 because I could care less about the rest of what they're talking about.
I was gonna give it a 0, but I agree there has to be something. I get it. So 0.5. Rewatchability and the MCU impact. That to me deserves a 0 because there really isn't that much of a rewatchability unless you haven't watched it for a long time. You just want to.
Yeah, I could go the rest of my life and never see this movie again.
And MCU impact.
None.
There really is none.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was gonna give it a 1 just because it's a movie, and I've seen worse movies and I've sat through worse, but unless we're doing this, I'm not watching this movie again. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And I agree with you. What you said in the very beginning of this segment is that when we did our countdown of number 1 to number 55, where we are in the MCU movies, we were a little more favorable to this movie. And in retrospect, watching it and doing a deep dive on it and everything, I know when we get to that again and we redo it and we do it for you as the audience, that has definitely gone down a peg or 2 from where I had it in my initial. And we could tell you when we get to that point where we initially had it, but then after doing this whole, Road to Doomsday we're doing, that this is definitely one of those where we have to make an adjustment. So, all right. What would you say is your final score?
So, do we have to do it by the math of what we just did? Because
I don't think we have to do it by math. I'm going to use, to the best of my knowledge of my very little math abilities, to figure out the official Goodell Multiverse score based off your score and mine, but I just went off gut instinct when I was looking at all these and seeing where I would fall.
Because if by the math, I give it a 5, but my heart tells me that's way too high.
Yeah.
I'd throw... Oh, man. This is what sucks, because I feel bad now. When we did our... It's funny how fast our big list is going to change.
Yeah. I gave mine a 3 out of 10. Which I think is being a little generous only because of the action visual effects. For me.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2. 2.5. 2.5 out of 10. I think there's worse movies than this. But it's right there. It really is right there. In fact, it's right there where it almost companions the Captain America movie in a way. Like if you want to watch a good crappy double feature, do it. That's your double feature right there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a 2.5.
Yeah. So if I average your score and my score, this movie is about a 2.5 as the official multiverse score.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
And
makes
believe
sense.
it or not, ladies and gentlemen, there are movies that are worse than this. So.
Yeah, not many though, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there are a couple where it's like, oh lordy, yeah.
Yeah. So if you think this is a harsh rating, wait till you get to those other episodes. All right.
But we're also not here to not be harsh. The idea is to watch these multiple times and be very honest about how they hold up. And this one just, if you ask me before we rewatch this, it was way better in my memory. You know, it should have stayed there because now that I've watched it twice in a week, I'm like, oh my, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah. Do you have a 1-sentence final verdict?
You don't need to watch this. Don't waste your time.
Yeah.
There's other things to watch. If you want to watch MCU stuff, this one you can skip. That's my one line. Is out of MCU, this one you can skip.
Yep, I agree. My 1 sentence, 1 word, hyphenated, non-consequential.
Yep, forgettable.
Yep. And that's pretty sad in retrospect when you're thinking about it. Because when I was getting started to watch this, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to see all the flaws, all the stuff. And I remember my original list was pretty, not high up on our Marvel list, but it was a good spot, a moderate spot. And then I'm watching, I'm like, ooh, and I got through it one time. I'm like, well, let me rewatch this again and see, is it my perspective? Maybe I wasn't paying attention right. And it was hard to rewatch. And that's pretty sad because a Marvel movie you could just turn on in the background while you're working at home and you're still up with it, and it's just, you could turn on, not get bored with it. Excuse me. But Incredible Hulk, unfortunately, it did not have that rewatchability factor.
I was so naive too going into this.
Me too.
Because I had this above Eternals on my big list.
Oh no!
I mean, what a mistake that is.
I have to look at my list, but I'm thinking, no.
Oh my! I feel, it's awful, and I feel bad for this. Like I said, we're not here to downsize movies.
No, we're just here to give an honest review of these movies. If anything, people who are watching this to have that creative control of not repeating this is why you should hear your 2 cents from 2 super fans like us.
And we want these movies to be good.
Yeah,
because if they're good, then we get good stuff to watch, right?
Exactly, and I like the Hulk lore. There's a reason why he became so popular, so I'd love to see a good adaptation of him. See him on the screen right there, the green hair, that's Doc Samson. That's how much of a difference he is.
Yeah, see even in the cartoons, guys. See?
Yeah.
Come on.
Anyways, so... moving on, just to end this podcast episode, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We had fun discussing this. This actually went a little longer than our first episode, but we just had a lot to talk about for this. Yeah, that's okay, though. Yeah. So, our next episode, we're going to be doing a breakdown of the Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episodes 2 and 3. We'll do the best we can to cover them in the shortest amount of time we can, just to get on to our main topic, which is a retrospective view of Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
Yeah, this is very exciting. So like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or on YouTube, of course, where you go watch the video version of the podcast, as long as things taped well. Otherwise, you definitely can hear us on like Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you stream, Amazon. You can hear us now on our podcast, the Goodell Multiverse podcast. If you have a question to us, email us at goodellmultiverse@gmail.com. And we'll go from there. Do you have any closing remarks you want to say?
No, I'm excited to do the next one. It's going to be probably a better mood.
Yeah, yep.
But yeah, no, can't wait.
All right, well, thanks, guys, for tuning in. And until next time, see you.